going on, guys, and welcome to a very special Saturday emergency stream here on the channel. I'm Graham Giason Matthews, ahead of AEW Revolution coming up on Sunday night. Hope you guys are doing well. First and foremost, I'm trying out an all-new 4K camera that Alexis got me, actually. I had to adjust some settings on the back end of things from where I record in OBS Studio. So if the stream isn't coming through as clear as it should, if you're not hearing me correctly, if it's lagging for whatever reason, please let me know. I'll check it out in the chat and I'll try to adjust the settings back to what they were. The thing came with like a little instruction manual to try to adjust the settings on the back end. It may not be coming through properly, so please let me know. But I think we should be fine for now. If you are joining live, first of all, thank you. We don't typically, I have in the past, but typically I don't go live on Saturdays just because SmackDown is at a point where the show is such a chore to fucking sit through most weeks and talk about and review. Although I did like last night's episode. I actually really liked last night's SmackDown. New United States champion, quality Women's United States Championship match, great promo from Cody Rhodes, an excellent segment with Bianca Belair and Naomi, Jade coming out. Very much enjoyed SmackDown on Friday. But, the one week where we don't talk about SmackDown, we're talking about AEW Revolution. I felt bad on Thursday when we did Wrestle Rant Radio. Jamie Lee Mack and I were live for like 2.5 hours, RJ joining for the first hour. We talked about everything but AEW Revolution coming up on Saturday. Camera looks great. Thank you, Grunt. I appreciate that. I'll read the rest of the chats in a second. Thank you. But if you guys aren't noticing any issues as far as the stream goes and the quality goes, that's great. So hopefully it stays that way. I'll go back to the chat in just one moment. But anyway, I felt bad when we went live the other day that we didn't talk about AEW Revolution. So I want to give my thoughts and preview and predictions for the pay-per-view coming up on Saturday, or rather Sunday night. Today's Saturday. Won't be live for 3 hours. I know I say that every single week with hashtag and Wrestle Rant Radio. And somehow time gets away from me and we go live for fucking multiple hours because we're having so much fun and whatnot. So I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. I do have other stuff I got to do today before I take off a little bit later on. There is no watch-along or post-show review for Revolution tomorrow, just to put that out there. I don't typically do that sort of stuff anyway, but the shows always end late. I will probably never, ever do that just because the AEW pay-per-views are long. I would be exhausted by the end of it, and the shows end so late. So maybe down the road. Not quite right now. But just a heads up on that front. But anyway, let me check out the chat real quickly here as we get going. Johnny had chatted in a little bit earlier and said Christian, he feels, is leaving with the World Championship. And his prediction is that Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher is going to be the best one-on-one steel cage match ever. That's a bold prediction. I mean, we've obviously had a million cage matches in wrestling history across all companies. I guess we'll see how that pans out tomorrow night. But obviously, that is shaping up to be an incredible match. I've enjoyed all their other encounters. I think tomorrow night it's going to be a great match as well. So we'll see what it looks like tomorrow night, and if it does end up being the best one-on-one cage match ever. We were talking about it on Wrestle Rant Radio actually the other day, like best cage matches ever. I think it was you, Johnny, or someone else that asked about it. And we both had named, when it was brought up, the Bucks and the Lucha Bros and the Tag Team Steel Cage match from All Out 2021. That's probably my favorite cage match ever. But Ospreay and Fletcher, man, they might have a top to their match tomorrow night. We'll soon see. Grunt did also say, he says, Sup, Graham, not going to be able to hang around long because my phone is close to dying on me. I know that feeling. But I wanted to pop in to share my Revolution hype. The show looks like an easy pay-per-view of the year contender. It honestly does. And the funny thing about that as well, Revolution, I've seen some people say this on Twitter, every single year, honestly, is like a sleeper show of the year. Revolution, for the last 5 years now, has been one of the better AEW pay-per-views. I'm not going to sit here and say it feels like they're WrestleMania, because it doesn't. But it ends up being one of their better pay-per-views all year, usually. Revolution 2020, their first ever one, might still be one of the best pay-per-views they've ever done. That fell on Leap Day, actually, February 29th, 2020. And the only reason I remember that is, I'll probably remember it anyway just because I have a good memory. But one of the reasons why I remember that was because I was in an Evolve show that night. And that also fell on Leap Day, and I missed the first part of the pay-per-view, had to catch up on it the next day, and it ended up being an amazing show. That's where Jon Moxley actually beat Jericho to win the AEW World Championship. And that tremendous Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, Adam Page tag team match, that still ended up being one of the best matches in company history. 2021 was still during COVID, so they didn't have any fans in attendance for that show. But I remember that being a quality show. Sting's first ever AEW match, actually. alongside Darby Allin against Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. It was a very good match. The barbed wire death match between Moxley and Kenny Omega, not so much, but that was a, decent matchup. Revolution 2022, I remember being an amazing show. I watched that in a movie theater, actually, that in Full Gear 2021. That was when AEW hype was at its peak, as far as like the brand and the momentum surrounding the company and whatnot. That had the William Regal debut, which I lost my fucking shit over. Which preceded it actually, Danielson and Moxley one-on-one for the first time in AEW. That was an excellent match. That had Adam Page against Adam Cole for the World Championship, Swerve Strickland's debut. Revolution 2023, I also remember being a quality show. That had an Iron Man match. Maybe the only Iron Man match that AEW's ever done, actually. Between MJF and Bryan Danielson. Tremendous show. I think also in LA, if I'm not mistaken. At least in California. No, that one was in California. Because I remember like the Lakers logo and whatnot. And then last year was, I remember also being a quality show. That was Sting's last match. And that main evented the show. And that was a great match. So, yeah, a lot of fond memories of Revolution. I think the show on Sunday is going to be great. And I'm really looking forward to, we'll run on the card in a couple of minutes. Johnny had also said, I think 9 matches on the pay-per-view was not needed. I mean, you could say that about any AEW pay-per-view. They do that every single time. And they typically end up being the best shows pretty much of the month. I like WWE's pay-per-views a lot. I think they've really stepped up their pay-per-view game under Triple H. But say what you will about the AEW product, their pay-per-views are usually unmatched. Like the weekly shows can be hit or miss, and I think Dynamite lately has actually been a lot better, which is why I feel bad that we haven't talked a whole ton about it on Wrestle Rant Radio. I know Mr. Marceau doesn't follow the product regularly. Most people that I talk to on the show don't. I watch it every single week. Some shows are worth talking about, some shows not so much. I've enjoyed Dynamite lately, but I think this pay-per-view has the potential to be an excellent show. Maybe not quite as, like Elimination Chamber will go down as one of the best B-level pay-per-views WWE's ever done. I don't think it's going to be as newsworthy as that, obviously, with the John Cena heel turn and whatnot. Because we all, are talking about the John Cena heel turn and all this WWE stuff right now. The road to WrestleMania, new champions crowned this past week. But I think AEW deserves some of the focus as well for some of the quality content they're putting out right now. Wrestling Fan 13 said, my favorite AEW Revolution installment is AEW Revolution 2022. I would agree. 2020 was a great show. I have fond memories specifically of the 2022 one because I watched that one live at a movie theater. I've only done that with 2 AEW pay-per-views, that and Full Gear a couple of months earlier in 2021. And both of those shows were awesome. But yeah, Revolution 2022, especially for the William Regal debut, that was an incredible show. Johnny had said, Revolution 2022 is my favorite incarnation. I would agree with that as well. Wrestling Fan 13 said, hey, Graham and everyone, I hope you are all enjoying your weekend so far. Thank you, Wrestling Fan. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us as always. Be sure to say hello to Wrestling Fan in the chat and Johnny and Grunt, everyone joining us here. Grunt had said as well, all they have to do is deliver on the big 4 matches, Ospreay Fletcher, Swerve Ricochet, Omega Takeshita, and MJF Page, and it will go down as a legendary show in my opinion. Bro, if you had one of those matches on the show, I think the show would still be great. But the fact that, as you mentioned, they have 4 like must-see banger matches, and that's not even counting, like you're mentioning those 4 matches. You're not even talking about Storm and Mariah May, which might be the most anticipated AEW women's match in company history, which isn't saying a whole ton because they've only been around for 5 or 6 years. But that feud's been great. They're having that Hollywood, maybe backlot-esque brawl, perhaps I say, because I don't think it's going to be the exact same thing, but I think it is a Falls Count Anywhere match, the Hollywood ending in Hollywood, no less. I'm looking forward to that as well. So if you deliver on that and the 4 matches you mentioned and some of the other stuff that we're going to be going down to the card here today, I think it could be an incredible show. Honestly, like we talk about like the 4-hour pay-per-views, 5-hour pay-per-views, and these shows are too long. They include too many matches and whatnot. But every single time they typically make the matches fly by. The entire show flies by. And then not only that, they end up being very worthwhile. And I think the best match on the show may not be anything that Grunt mentioned. It might be Big Boom AJ on the pre-show. That's what I'm looking forward to more than anything else. Big Boom AJ in the pre-show Rizzler appearance. I'm looking forward to that. I kid, but I am excited for that regardless. Johnny said CM Punk and MJF are the best dog collar match I've ever seen. I forgot about that. That was also Revolution 2022. Probably Punk's best AEW match. Nathaniel Cranshaw said, hi, I could see Cope winning the TNT Championship or tag team title with Cage if he doesn't win the world title. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe winning back the TNT Championship. I don't know how we would go about doing that. In the sense that Garcia is the current champion. I don't see him beating Garcia. I don't think he should. I could see them running back Garcia and Cope. They had a match, I think about a year ago in AEW. Cope may have won or it was a no contest. I don't remember. But you can run that back. I would put Garcia over Cope. Maybe Garcia loses it to Fletcher, who beat Garcia in the Continental Classic. They haven't gone back to that yet. Maybe because Fletcher's losing this feud with Ospreay, and then maybe then he sets his sights on the TNT Championship. Very possible. I don't think we're getting a TNT title defense on Saturday. I don't think we are. So anyway, yeah, I could totally see that at some point down the road. Grunt said, hard agree, AEW has been the king of pay-per-views since day one. Yeah, their pay-per-views have not every single one has been amazing. Like there's been a handful of shows that are, not so great. Or a lot of good wrestling didn't really feel like I missed much. No, this is a show that you gotta watch. I'm telling you that right now. Johnny mentioned my second favorite Revolution match is the Young Bucks versus Omega and Hangman. I mentioned that match a few moments ago. Excellent match from the 2020 installment. Great crowd. I think that show was it not in Chicago as well? I'm pretty sure it was. But that was an excellent show. Alexis joining in the chat, of course. She said camera looks good. I mentioned earlier it was her call to get the camera. She bought the camera for me, so I appreciate the gift. And yeah, she said it looks so nice. So thank you, Alexis, again for that. Got to give her all the credit for that. I thought our first stream with the camera would be on Tuesday for hashtag, but we're doing it live here today instead for Revolution Predictions. So wasn't scheduling a stream for today in case I didn't want to do it or in case just something else happened. But this is also kind of a guinea pig stream for hashtag on Tuesday to see if the camera works. And like I said, guys, if you're not experiencing any buffering or stuttering in the stream, that's great because it's saying on the back end that there's some like FPS, which is like the frame per second. There might be some sort of issue with that, but if you guys aren't having any issues, then that's great. Wrestling Fan 13 says, do you think there will be any surprise debuts at Revolution? Maybe Josh Alexander. Yeah, that's possible. That is possible. I could certainly see Josh Alexander popping up. They had Swerve pop up at 2022. They had Colt Cabana, I think, debuted actually for AEW Revolution 2020, right? Since that was in Chicago. William Regal, I mentioned in 2022 as well. So yeah, they could have Josh Alexander debut on the show. It's not like a necessary thing. It would have to make sense. If he just shows up and they announce him as having a contract or something, it would get lost in the shuffle and overshadowed by everything else on the show, including all the matches that Grunt specifically mentioned earlier. I would probably at that point just save it for Dynamite to load up that show, the subsequent Dynamite on the next Wednesday. But it is possible, certainly possible. And before we get going here with the predictions, I'll read the next two chats in a moment. But if you guys are joining live, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. You never know when I might do a stream. It could be late on a Friday night. It could be a Saturday afternoon. We definitely do go live every single Tuesday and Thursday for hashtag AskGSM and Wrestle Rant Radio, respectively. So if you haven't already subscribed, and hit that bell button to be notified every single time we put up a new video and every single time we go live. What are you missing out on? What are you doing? Why are you waiting on that? Be sure to do so. I would appreciate it. But you never know when we might go live to talk AEW or ranting about SmackDown or breaking news or whatever. Kind of depends on the circumstance, and I can't always promise you that we will go live on a certain day beyond Tuesdays and Thursdays, but if you're subscribed and you have that bell button turned on and you're notified every single time we go live, then you won't have to worry about that. So anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in live. Be sure to like the video if you haven't already. Wrestling Fan 13 says, unfortunately, I won't be able to catch AEW Revolution live. Will the replay be available on Max after it airs? Are they doing the pay-per-views on Max? I don't think they are. I think you still have to buy the show through Triller. I think Max only has the archived content for now. I could be wrong on that. I might be wrong on that. I don't know. I have Max. I'm not going to watch it through Max. I'm going to watch it through Triller. So maybe someone else has some insight on that. I know they had announced that you can buy the pay-per-views on Prime Video. That doesn't mean if you have Amazon Prime or Prime Video that the pay-per-views are automatically free for you. You still have to buy them. It's just another way of buying the show. And you can watch it on Prime Video if you have Prime Video. You just have to buy it there. I think it's the same price. So, no, I don't think the show is live for free on Max if you have Max. Just to kind of clear up that misconception. AEW doesn't really do a great job of clearing this sort of stuff up until it's too late. So hopefully at some point, they can make that clear. But I'm pretty sure I would just check Max, and if it's not on Max, try Triller. You might have to buy it there. Grunt did say, yeah, it's lagging a bit for me, but it's not too bad. All right, well, let me try something as we're going on here before I read the rest of the chats. Just so it's not too bad, I had changed something with the bit rate. Hold on. All right, I think that might be better. I'm just changing the bit rate back to what it was. All right, hold on. Apply, okay. This might be better. All right, if the stream was interrupted, I apologize. But hopefully that does. Okay, it should be better now. I got complete full bars of on the back end here saying that the stream should be back to the quality of what it was previously, despite the new camera. So we should be fine. We should be fine. So if the camera's still coming through clear, 4K, then excellent. I think obviously it's enhanced if you're watching on a 4K TV or a 4K fucking laptop or whatever. But yeah, I think now it should be better. So again, I apologize for that. All right, going back to the chat here for a moment. Grunt also said he liked and favorited. I appreciate that, Grunt. Thank you so much. Let's see. Johnny had mentioned Camille looked healthier at the movie premiere. Do you think she returns tomorrow night? And also, do you want to see a Willow versus Marina match? Willow and Marina make sense just because we had Willow attacking Marina. I could see Marina attempting to interfere, even though they took her out. Willow did, that is, with the concerto. I could still see Marina showing up and Willow interfering to thwart that interference. I don't give a fuck about any Marina Shafir match, to be perfectly honest with you. I really don't. I love Willow. I think Willow's great. They should be doing more with Willow. But Marina Shafir matches are like the cure for insomnia. I just do not give a fuck about Marina Shafir. She is just incredibly boring to me. But the match would make sense at some point. Johnny, as far as the Camille thing goes, yeah, maybe Camille shows up tomorrow. We know for a fact that Mercedes is not losing to Momo Watanabe. Spoiler alert, we'll get to that match prediction shortly, but we know for a fucking fact that Momo is not winning that championship tomorrow night. So could Camille show up afterward and attack Mercedes, the woman who put her on the shelf a couple of months ago? Yeah, and honestly, I think the match would be good. I think Camille's very good, but they have completely botched her run in AEW with Camille. I don't know if people would care. I don't know if AEW ever intends to bring her back. Honestly, I could see a scenario where she just never returns to TV. And they feel like, oh yeah, she's damaged goods now, we'll just let her go at the end of her deal. We just don't know. I don't think was she actually hurt? I thought that was a storyline injury. So, I don't know. Even if she was actually hurt, the way that they wrote her off a number of months ago was complete fucking garbage. So hopefully they can improve upon that when she comes back, if she comes back to television. Fernando joining us in the chat. He said, what's up? Sorry, I'm late. Very clear. Thank you, Fernando. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us. Always great to see you in the chat. If you are tuning in now, be sure to like the video. Like I said earlier, helps out the video a lot. Grunt also said, yeah, the camera still looks good. Thank you, Grunt. I appreciate the feedback. He also said, we need more Willow in general. Willow's great. I mean, Willow's TBS championship run was way too fucking short. I get why she lost it to Mercedes, and they had a great match at Double or Nothing. She never went back after it. Mercedes has been champion ever since. That was 10 fucking months ago. How have we not got Mercedes and Willow again? We got 2 Chris Statlander matches out of it, and those were great matches, and I still think Chris Statlander should have beaten Mercedes, probably at World's End, but whatever. We never went back to Willow and Chris Statlander. Why not? It doesn't make sense to me. I think Willow could be the one to beat her. I don't know if she necessarily needs to be, but it would make sense. Maybe they can run it back at Double or Nothing a year later. I don't know. Nathaniel said, I think I'd cope. If Cope wins, I think is what he means. They can have Christian try to cash in, then Jay White can steal it and become world champion. Yeah, I've seen some speculation on that. How would Jay White steal it? Christian cashes in. I saw what Solomonster said about Jay White putting his name on the contract. I don't love that idea. I just think that's goofy. At the same time, I thought it was goofy when Luchasaurus won that TNT title shot back at World's End 2023 and then, gave it to Christian. That made no fucking sense to me. I thought that was also very stupid. It gave us another couple more months with Christian as champion, which was cool. But, the way that they executed it was just dumb. It's like almost, it wasn't the exact same thing, but it's almost like winning Money in the Bank and then giving the briefcase to someone else. Even when Edge won the briefcase from Mr. Kennedy, he still beat him for the briefcase. Like when Otis lost the briefcase to Miz, Miz didn't just fucking take the briefcase and write his name on it. If it's that easy, then why doesn't just everyone do it? What Christian has is a contract. Did he not already sign it? Like, I don't know. I have no idea. I just would not do that. Jay White can always win the belts at some point down the road or feud with Cope, whether Cope's champion or not. I think him stealing it and then walking out champion, I think Jay White as champion would be cool. I just don't really know how you would execute to that. I don't know how you would do that without it not making sense. Anyway, Fernando said, do you think Toni versus May should main event? It should. It won't. Reportedly, it's going to be Cope and Moxley. Maybe they have some sort of big angle planned. And I could also see maybe Mariah May and Toni Storm isn't main eventing because it's going to be more cinematic than an actual match. Like the Hollywood Backlot Brawl with Roddy Piper and Goldust, the WrestleMania 12, took place over the course of the show, and it was backstage, and it's Falls Count Anywhere. So they could take their match to like fucking Hollywood sign itself. We don't know. Maybe that's why it's not main eventing. If it was an actual match, if it ends up being an actual match, and there's no cinematic stuff involved, it really should have main evented. We just won't know until we see it tomorrow. But to have a Hollywood ending match, and it's not even ending the show, for their best storyline, one of their best storylines in company history, is ass backwards booking to me personally. Then Nathaniel said, then Cope and Cage can reunite after. Nathaniel, I know you've recommended that a lot. The Cope and Cage reunion, it will happen at some point. I don't know if we're getting it now, but at some point it will happen. Fernando said she really was hurt, talking about Camille. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I thought she wasn't actually hurt, but whether she's actually hurt or not, or was actually hurt or not, the way they wrote her out late last year was just complete garbage. The way they were booking her even prior to that point made her look like such a fucking loser. I don't think she's damaged goods yet. I think you can bring her back, rehabilitate her with good booking, get her back on the right track. It's not impossible. I'm just saying I don't know if I'm confident that they'll do that. Wrestling Fan said, currently watching the CM Punk and Hangman Adam Page Workers' Rights promo on YouTube. AEW from January through April 2022 produced enjoyable content. I would go back even before that. I would go back to the summer of 2021. AEW was white fucking hot. As soon as, even during the pandemic, they were producing better shows than WWE, I'll tell you that much. But, as soon as AEW got fans back and they had that amazing, incredible atmosphere for a lot of their shows, from the summer of 2021 into the fall of 2021, people were showing up left and right. People were leaving WWE, popping up in AEW soon after. Contracts were expiring. It was incredible. And not only just because people were debuting, but the actual content of the storylines, like Punk and MJF, amazing feud. Probably still one of, if not the best feud in AEW history so far. Hangman's chase for the championship. Danielson coming in. Cole coming in. The teasing of tension with Omega leaving. Cole coming in, taking over Undisputed Elite. A lot of great stuff they were doing at that point. Blackpool Combat Club started. It was incredible. Johnny said, Will and Ricochet should be an Anarchy in the Arena. I mean, Anarchy in the Arena is typically a multi-person tag team match. I actually am in the minority. I do not like Anarchy in the Arena or the Stadium Stampede. I think that shit's garbage. I think the first one was cool for Stadium Stampede 5 years ago. All the other ones I have hated. So I would not do more of those. I know they will. I wouldn't do more of those. I think they've just kind of overstayed their welcome. I prefer the blood and guts stuff. I think makes sense. To then do a 10-man brawl inside of a stadium a month later, to me, has always been stupid. They just feel way too forced. But Will and Ricochet having a match anywhere in the arena may not necessarily be Anarchy in the Arena, but I feel like that would be cool. Johnny said they've booked the other powerhouse, Megan Bayne, better. They have. They've actually booked Megan Bayne very, very well so far. I'm still not completely sold on her mic skills and stuff. I mean, she doesn't scream charisma as far as that goes. I've seen her work, and I know Alexis has as well. We've talked about this at length. We've seen her on the independent scene in the last 4 or 5 years, so we've kind of seen her rise. She's got a great look to her, and she's good in the ring. The only thing missing from the package, in my opinion, is that charisma where she plays to the crowd. And I know it's her gimmick to not really do that, but I don't know. She's a great powerhouse, but I feel like we could see more of that evolution as far as her cutting promos. And I don't know. She doesn't have that physical charisma. She comes out and she looks like a star, but when the bell rings and even during her entrance, people look bored. if that makes sense. I don't know. I know it's part of the gimmick where she's like the goddess or whatever. I know that's Alexa Bliss's thing, or was at one point. Beyond that, though, I don't know. I feel like they kind of have to work on that. Fernando asked, are you doing a Revolution watch-along? I am not. I'll actually be in New York tomorrow, so I don't know if I'll be back in time for the start of the show. I'm hoping to be. I might really want to watch the show live. If I'm not, I'll probably watch it on my phone before I can get back to watch it with Alexis. But no, I'll not be doing a watch along. I'm not doing a post show review. A lot of other people, and I've said this before, a lot of other people do that, and a lot of other people do it much better than me. So I will not be doing that. I'll probably talk about the show. If you guys ask me about it for hashtag, I'll talk about it on Tuesday. But if not, I'll save my thoughts on it for Thursday's Wrestle Rant Radio. Johnny asked, All Out 2021 was the first AEW pay-per-view I watched. Wow, that's an amazing fucking place to start, because that was an incredible show, probably the best they've ever done. I guess technically it's all downhill from there, but that was a great place to start because it was an incredible show. Grunt said the only two matches that are hard to call are Moxley and Copeland, and MJF and Page. Both are a toss-up to me. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little while. Johnny said Megan Bain's F5 is horrible. It's all right. I've seen better, but it's not bad. Grunt asked, or said, I can go without any more anarchy in the arenas or stadium stampedes for a long while. AEW can be pretty bad when it comes to walk-in brawls. Yeah, they just do too many of them. They got to calm that shit down. Not a big fan. Johnny asked, chopped cheese or Philly cheesesteak? What is chopped cheese? Is it literally just chopped cheese? Philly cheesesteak all day. Specifically from, I watched Daredevil the other day, the first 2 episodes, by the way. Fucking incredible. Easily the best MCU show they've ever done. Like on Disney Plus, it's not even close. But there was a conversation during one of the episodes with Kingpin where he was talking about like Philly cheesesteaks and where the best place to get it is, D'Angelo's or Geno's. I got Geno's once when Mr. Marceau and I went to the Rumble in 2018. I think we got it the night of TakeOver, the night before, and it was great. I really liked it. I actually had a Philly cheesesteak. They gave it to us in the press box at Mania 40 one of the nights, if not both nights, and it was excellent. So I'm a big Philly cheesesteak guy, specifically when you're in Philly itself. Wrestling Fan 13 said, I watched the first episode of WWE Evolve and I really enjoyed it. From a production standpoint, I liked how during matches, lower third graphics popped up with information about the WWE ID talent. That's cool. I know the show debuted on Wednesday during Dynamite. Terrible timing, but I know they're doing that on purpose. I really haven't seen a lot else about the show beyond like one of the clips with Brad Baylor in it, actually, who I know from the independent scene, and he's really good. I think he has potential. I haven't seen any of the matches or anything aside from like Danny Palmer's doing, like I haven't seen anything aside from her splash from the top rope, which looked crazy. Yeah, I will not watch the show consistently because I don't want to feel imprisoned to watching a show weekly. And I just can't do that. I can't start a show at this point. I'm watching enough wrestling. I don't want to add on to it. But I haven't really heard a whole lot. But if you're saying you enjoyed it, that's a good sign. Johnny said chopped cheese is a chopped cheeseburger on a roll or hero, a New York thing. Oh, okay. I honestly have never heard of that. I'm more of a Philly cheesesteak guy. I don't like anything on a hero. Isn't that like the type of bread or a type of sandwich? I'm not a hero guy. I've had one of those before, I think. I like cheeseburgers. I like regular burgers more than cheeseburgers, but I might try that. But I'm more of a Philly cheesesteak guy. Grunt said, I still got a bad feeling about the WWE ID business. We've talked about it before. I'm kind of optimistic about it. We'll see where they go with it and what it turns out to be. But I'm optimistic. I think it has pros and cons. Let's not gloss over the cons, but I am optimistic about it. Fernando said, what are your thoughts on the real backstage heat between Jade and Shayna Baszler? I'll answer this and then we'll go into the predictions because this is not AEW related. I want to keep it AEW centric here today. But I honestly, there's obviously smoke to the fire there. Fightful even had commented on it because I know Meltzer was the first one to report about it. Long story short, it stemmed from that weird finishing sequence, which I honestly totally fucking forgot about, from Clash of the Castle last summer. Like, at this point, who gives a shit? I'm not really sure why it's being reported about now. I know Jade's back on TV, so that's probably why. I don't know if he got fed information, if they were just holding. I know Fightful had known about this for a while, but they're only talking about it now because Meltzer had brought it up. And, we hear about this stuff in all companies, but, AEW specifically. listen, who gives a shit? At this point, if Jade's like putting heat on herself, I'm not saying that's completely untrue. It probably is true, but just with some of the stuff that she has said and whatever, it just sounds like, a coworker not liking another coworker. As long as WWE handles it, that was kind of my issue with a lot of the backstage bullshit that was happening in AEW for a very long time on and off. Um, like in the last couple of months, not so much, but for a while there, Tony Khan didn't really seem like he was handling it. WWE, there honestly is probably a lot more of that sort of stuff that happens, but WWE, whether they're PR team or whatever, they do a great job of keeping that stuff in-house and handling it so we don't have to know about it. But this came out. I think Jade is fine. People acting as if, oh yeah, she can't go back to AEW now. Jade's not going anywhere. She's a massive fucking star, a bigger star than most women on that roster. No matter how talented they are, you cannot deny that. Whether you think she's awful in the ring or not, like, should she have said or done certain things? Could she have handled herself differently? Of course. But I mean, it just sounds like a lot of like, who cares? Like, it sounds like they settled it. That was like 9 months ago. At this point, who gives a shit? It is interesting to read about, but like, let's not drudge this up again and, whatever. It just sounds like a lot of backstage nonsense. I'm not denying that it happened. I'm just saying, like, okay, like, this shit happens in workplaces all the time. Some of the stuff you could say that about an AEW as well. Some of the stuff is like, okay, they really should be putting an end to this. Have these two sit down, have Shayna and Jade sit down, talk about it. Maybe they already did. Maybe they're already over it, I would hope. They don't like each other, who cares? But, if they haven't settled it already, hopefully they will. But yeah, it sounds like a bunch of nonsense. Grunt said I'm more of a chicken sandwich and wrap guy. So am I. I like Philly cheesesteaks, but if you give me that option, any day of the week, 10 out of 10, 7 days out of the week, 8th day of the week, whatever, too. I am always a chicken sandwich guy and wrap guy, every single time. Now, it depends on the place. I'm more of a chicken wrap guy, but chicken sandwich, chicken grinder, chicken wrap, buffalo chicken wrap, chicken Caesar wrap. You're speaking my language, Grunt. You're speaking my language. So let's get into this now. AEW Revolution 2025. Fernando even said on paper, this is the best pay-per-view AEW has produced. On paper, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to say that and the show ends up being mid, but I can't imagine it would be mid with the card that we have on tap, to be perfectly honest with you. This looks like an incredible card from top to bottom. So let's start with the pre-show match here. Big Boom AJ, the Costco guys, are coming back to AEW. AJ actually got injured in his match with QT Marshall at the Full Gear show, but he's obviously all healed up now. He's wrestling on the show. So he's going to be teaming with the conglomerations Orange Cassidy and Mark Briscoe, with Big Justice in the corner, of course. Maybe the Rizzler might be there. We'll hope. Fingers crossed. They're taking on Johnny TV in the MXM Collection. This is an easy win for Big Boom AJ, probably picking up the win for his team. In a perfect spot for him, too, because I thought he did really well, honestly. He exceeded his expectations in that match with Marshall at Full Gear. I think having teammates like Briscoe and Cassidy, where there's no real obvious spot for them on the show, they can do most of the work. He can go in, do some spots, probably pick up the win for his team, pinning one of the MXM Collection guys who gives a shit. Maybe even Johnny TV. At this point, those guys are just like lower level undercard talent. So if they lose, who gives a shit? Easy win for the baby faces. I'm actually excited to see what this match looks like, because like I said, AJ was impressive the last time that he was in the ring. So I'm honestly kind of looking forward to this. I'm hoping the match, I'm able to watch the match by the time I can watch the show, if I'm back in time to watch it. Looking at the rest of this card, I'm not even really sure where to start. They have an amazing card on tap. I guess I was going to go from like least matches, like least, most predictable to least predictable. Let's start with Kazuchika Okada versus Brody King. For the main card, let's start there. I'll go back to the chat in a moment. Let's get this prediction out of the way. AEW Continental Championship, Okada and King. Easy win for Okada. The build here, for all the praise I've kind of given AEW for this pay-per-view, and the build overall has been well done for the most part. This match came completely out of nowhere. Incredibly fucking lazy. Now, I know, obviously, Okada had beaten Buddy Matthews at Grand Slam Australia. That had better build than whatever the fuck this has gotten. They were involved in a match on Wednesday's Dynamite, and a tag team match. Okada's team won. Ricochet pinned Swerve. Before that, Julia Hart had a match on Collision a week ago, losing to Queen Aminata. Kind of a shocking upset. And then Brody King was out there, not during the match, but he came out to Julia's aid, like just to help her out or whatever. And then Okada showed up and attacked Brody King. That is literally the build to this match. Maybe King had said something about Okada in a promo or whatever at some point. I don't remember. Just a very lazy build. Hey, listen, it gets Okada on the show. And the match we know will be great. Brody King is great. Okada is obviously amazing. Okada, I mean, he really reminded people more than any other point in his AEW run so far what he was capable of when he had shown up at World's End and had those two excellent matches. First with Ricochet it was a pretty good match. I was expecting more. It was a very good match. The Ospreay match, Ospreay and Okada, was outstanding. Outstanding. And that was the Okada that I want to see more of in AEW. We have barely fucking seen that Okada. We have barely seen Okada at all on AEW television this year. The Bucks are gone, don't give a shit. Jack Perry's gone, don't give a shit. So the Elite thing is kind of dead. He's the only one out there kind of representing that group, but he's barely on the show. So the match will be great. We know Okada's winning. Hopefully King looks credible in the feed. Hopefully we can kind of get going here, because I know, obviously, the end game is Okada and Omega at the All In show in Texas. That is in July. That's in 4 months. They're doing an amazing job of keeping Omega hot until then with the, Konosuke stuff. We'll talk about that match later on. Okada, not so much. They teased that match in December. He has done fuck all since then. He's had a couple title defenses, but beyond that, he's barely on the show. So give him a great win here. Let them have a great match. We need to see more of the Okada that we saw in New Japan. This is like one of my least anticipated matches of the night, to be perfectly honest. I just do not, I like the match. It will be a very good match, but like Okada's booking has been very lackluster. They got to do a better job of that. Got to do a better job. Going back to the chat here for a moment, Wrestling Fan 13 said, so WWE currently allows their talent to appear on TNA, GCW Bloodsport, Pro Wrestling Noah, and soon NWA. Something like this would have been impossible 5 years ago. Love to see it. I agree. We talked with the NWA stuff with Natalia on the stream a few days ago. That was fucking cool. A lot of different stuff that they're doing right now with all these different companies. It's very cool to see. Honestly, at this point, like I was joking with Alexis a couple days ago. After John Cena turned heel, the ultimate that thing will never happen actually fucking happened. I can't sit here and shit on any ideas that people have as far as, oh yeah, I think this could happen. Like, and I mention that because WWE and AEW working together at some point, honestly, is probably going to happen. It may not be imminent. It might be a very long while down the road, but at some point, it's probably going to happen. But WWE working with all these other promotions in the meantime is pretty fucking cool, especially the TNA one, because I don't really follow GCW, Bloodsport, or Noah. The NWA thing is cool with Natalia being there. I still do watch NWA. The TNA one has been very well done so far. Johnny said AEW should be facing AJ should be facing Adam Cole in a boom match. That would be a definite demotion for Adam Cole. It would be kind of embarrassing if they did a match like that and AJ, the Costco guy, got a bigger reaction than Adam Cole, which I honestly am like genuinely fearful that would happen. So they got to be careful, but that would be funny though. They did that interaction on Collision where AJ was kind of endorsed by Adam Cole. I think it was on Collision or maybe Dynamite. I don't know. It was a while ago. Cole's he's got to get his mojo back. He has kind of really lost his footing since being back. He had a very good match with Garcia last week on Collision, but beyond that, he really hasn't felt like the same Adam Cole of a few years ago. Johnny also said maybe a TNT and Trios title match could have been on the pre-show. Honestly, there's a chance they still could be. They only announced one pre-show match. Let's fucking keep it that way. There is no need to have 5 different pre-show matches. This is what AEW does. They wouldn't add a Trios title match, or at least not a... Well, Trios title match they can't do, because technically Claudio and Pac are supposed to be injured at the hands of Cope. They can't do a Trios title match if they're supposed to be out right now, so I get that. You could have done a TNT title match. I feel like to relegate it to the pre-show would just kind of confirm to people that belt means nothing. So I wouldn't really do that because pre-show matches typically mean nothing. They will add last-minute matches, like for, I think, what was it? Wrestle Dream, they had a fucking Ring of Honor World Championship match between Commander and Brian Cage. Who fucking cares? They'll probably add a bunch of 10-man tag team matches. I'll watch it all because I have to review it, but like mostly, does any one of those matches make people more excited for the show itself? No. I mean, it gets them on the show. It gets them a paycheck, which is nice. But like, as far as do these matches have any real value? No. The pre-show match this time that they advertised with Big Boom AJ, I actually give a shit about because AJ, I think, has kind of exceeded expectations in his role so far, like I said. That's a fun little attraction. But to add all these other matches with like Top Flight, all these other people that are barely on the show, who cares? especially if they're not announcing them in advance. Johnny also said they should have built around Brody wanting revenge against Okada for injuring Brody's, or rather Buddy's, ankle. Yeah, how was that not mentioned? Buddy, I think, legit got hurt at Grand Slam. How have they not mentioned that at all? Maybe they'll mention that on commentary during the match, but that not being the story makes no sense to me. Daniel joining us here in the chat. I hit my desk by accident. He said, happy Saturday, friends. Daniel, thanks for joining us as always. Be sure to say hi to Daniel in the chat. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Grunt said, another hard agree. World's End is the best Okada performance since his match with Pac at Wrestle Dynasty. That match was also awesome. I completely forgot about that, but that might be Okada's best match in AEW so far. Was the Pac match, and the Ospreay match is number one, but Pac is a very close second. So let's move along with this card here. Let's get to the other match I really, honestly, don't give a shit about. Mercedes Moné and Momo Watanabe for the AEW TBS Championship. Watanabe is a New Japan talent, Stardom talent. I think a Stardom talent. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I don't really follow New Japan that closely. I don't follow Stardom all that closely. So again, I apologize. But basically the story, funnily enough, this is more of a story than the Brody King Okada match. At least that they've acknowledged on air. It's been given more hype and build on television than Okada and Brody King. But Watanabe won a four-way match, which I did see at I think that was also called Wrestle Dynasty, right? Dynasty was the AEW pay-per-view from last year. They had a show called Wrestle Dynasty, which was basically like night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. It was the night after Wrestle Kingdom this year, back in January. She won a four-way match with Athena, Willow, and a female from CMLL, I believe, where the winner got to choose which championship they wanted to vie for from either AEW, Ring of Honor, CMLL, or New Japan. She won, and she decided to cash in that opportunity on Mercedes Moné. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple story. The problem is Watanabe has never been on AEW television before. She's popped up in a few backstage segments recently on Dynamite, which is better than nothing. But, like, I don't care about Momo Watanabe. I'm sure she's very talented. I'm sure the match will be nice. But, like, we need more actual storylines with Mercedes. I'm honestly not the biggest Harley Cameron fan at all. But what they were doing with her and Mercedes, albeit briefly, because they were in Harley Cameron's home country of Australia, so it made sense, and they had a good match. That was the best storyline that Mercedes has had in many, many months in AEW. The Chris Statlander stuff kind of sold itself. That really wasn't much of a feud. But, like, she hasn't really had feuds. Like, she had that feud with Britt Baker. The feud itself was fine. The match was not good. Mercedes is very, like, her booking with Okada, she should feel like a much bigger deal than she does. The stuff over the AEW Women's World Championship is 10 times more important than anything they've done with Mercedes so far. And Mercedes has found her footing as a heel. She's much better off as a heel. She's had some great matches in recent months, specifically with Chris Statlander. But the Harley Cameron match was good. By her standards, like, not great, but it was easily Harley Cameron's best match in AEW so far. This match, I'm sure, will also be well worked, but there is sub-zero chance that Momo wins. So maybe if you can spice it up, as someone said earlier in the chat, Camille comes out and attacks Mercedes afterwards to set that up as her next challenger. That would at least be interesting. I can't really say I care about this match otherwise, besides the fact it's going to be a good match. So, I mean, they have 1 million women on the AEW roster. I know she just lost to Mariah May at World's End a couple of months ago, but could you have not built up Thunder Rosa for an opportunity? That would be a fresh match. Mercedes Moné and Thunder Rosa. I mean, this is the problem with the booking of the women in AEW. It's not a massive issue. It's not as bad as it once was. But when a woman loses one championship reign or loses one shot, she then will go for the following championship. Like Statlander probably got a lot of different AEW Women's World title opportunities. I know Willow did, and then she jumped over to the TBS championship. It's very back and forth. Julia Hart did the same thing. You don't want to have Thunder Rosa lose to Mariah May, then immediately lose to Mercedes, but that would be a better match. I don't know how long they intend to keep the championship on Mercedes Moné. I don't really think it's necessary to keep the belt on her until fucking September or whatever it would be in order to break Jade Cargill's record. At that point, it would just be obvious that they're just keeping the belt on her to break Jade's record. At that point, who cares? Who gives a shit? So I wouldn't do that. And at that point, I'll probably be like completely bored of Mercedes as champion anyway, if we're not already. But there are women in AEW that you can't work with and feud with and have quality matches with. We've seen that. Fucking use those women. Put them on television. Why isn't Deonna Purrazzo challenging for the TBS Championship? Well, I mean, for start Mercedes. Why isn't Thunder Rosa working with Mercedes? Why not run back Willow and Mercedes? Maybe they intend to run that back at Double or Nothing a year later, but like why do you need to use women outside of AEW when there's plenty of women on this roster that you're not fucking using? It just doesn't make sense to me. Hurt Syndicate versus the Outrunners for the AEW World Tag Team titles. I say that in a surprising tone because it was supposed to be the Murder Machines. They were very much building toward the Hurt Syndicate versus the Murder Machines, that being Brian Cage and Lance Archer. I'll go back to the chat every like 2 matches, by the way, so I'll get through this and we'll go back to the chat if anyone sent anything in. But then the Outrunners beat the Murder Machines in a tag team match and kind of an upset on Dynamite. And by default, the Outrunners earned the opportunity instead. Now, the Outrunners are more over than the Murder Machines, but there's less of a chance the Outrunners are going to win. There's no fucking shot in hell the Outrunners win the tag titles, especially against the Hurt Syndicate. At this point in time, it's just not going to happen. Now, will it make for a fun match? Yes, the Outrunners have actually grown on me. They went from being a team I did not give a fuck about, and I thought were just too goofy. They've become a nice, fun, throwback team. I think if you have FTR turn heel on them at some point, I feel like that'd be a great use of them. This just feels random. It feels like an excuse to get the tag titles on the show. There's no real heat behind this. The Hurt Syndicate are popular. The Outrunners are also popular, so I'm curious to see what the crowd reaction to this is. If they just go right back to Murder Machines at some point, like, why then have them lose in the first place? I mean, Lance Archer just cannot buy a win to save his fucking life, but his booking has been comical. This should be a nice match, though. Obviously, Hurt Syndicate are winning, but I think the fact that both teams are over in their respective roles should make this an enjoyable outing. So we shall soon see. Back here to the chat. Backtracking a little bit. Let's see. Wrestling Fans said earlier on, do you think we get a match between John Cena and Edge / Cope before Cena calls it a career? How would that deal between AEW and WWE come together, if that's even a possibility? I don't think that happens. I mentioned like, AEW and WWE can work together at some point. I don't think they are imminently. Let me just make that clear to kind of reiterate that. I said that because Cena turned heel at this point, honestly, anything is possible. There's a lot of guarantees in wrestling. Oh, there's no chance this ever happens. But at the same time, it's like, I just don't see that happening. That being said, I certainly don't see it happening this year where WWE and AEW work together to do that match. Because if you do that match, Cena's probably winning. WWE probably doesn't want Cena losing to a top talent in AEW. And then an AEW guy's going to have to lose. So if that were to be worked out in some form or fashion, it would have to happen with AEW getting someone from WWE. And that WWE person, not like a trade. I'm talking like if WWE can use Edge / Cope, and honestly, there's enough throwback matches that you can do with Cena and WWE where it's not even really necessary to get Cena and Edge again. It would be cool, but it's just not going to happen, nor is it really necessary. If you have Orton and Punk and Styles, like they don't need to do the Edge match, although it would be fun for nostalgia purposes. If they did, and if Cena were to win, and he wouldn't go over to AEW to promote the match, it would be strictly WWE. The only way I could see them doing that is if Tony Khan's like, okay, I'll let you do that, but I need a top talent that is an equivalent of Edge in your promotion to come on over here and lose to one of my guys. You know what I think would work in an alternate universe? If you were to do that match, AJ Styles is kind of made it clear he's not going anywhere. He's probably staying in WWE. Maybe he leaves and goes to AEW for a final year or two. I severely doubt it, but what about this? What if Edge were to come to WWE for a one-off against Cena? In exchange, and I feel like this is a worthy exchange, AJ Styles goes to AEW, maybe not for a full run, but for a one-off match with Will Ospreay or Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega or Ospreay win. So Cena beats Edge in WWE, and Ospreay or Omega beat AJ in AEW. I feel like that would be a fucking worthy exchange. I feel like that'd be sick. Imagine they take Punk. They're like, we don't want AJ actually. We want Punk back in AEW. Punk's like, absolutely fucking not. Maybe we can still get that Omega Punk match if they work out a deal like that, and they can have Omega put over, or rather have Punk put over Omega. That's never gonna happen. But I feel like that'd be cool. An AJ exchange for Edge. It's not gonna happen, but it would be fucking awesome though. Grunt said, it should be a good match, talking about Mercedes and Momo. Mercedes works best with women similar to her size. I agree. You would think that she would work better with women that are taller than her because she is smaller and she could do the whole like underdog thing. Well, first of all, she's a heel. And second of all, yeah, she just doesn't have great matches with women that are like, I mean, that's not necessarily true. Her and Charlotte had a lot of great matches, and Charlotte's not big, but Charlotte's taller than Mercedes is. So I don't know. She has different chemistry with different women. AEW Dynasty is next month. That comes from I'm Objectively Balanced and On the Ball. Interesting name. Yeah, no, I know Dynasty is next month. I'm saying that New Japan had a show called Wrestle Dynasty in January. There wasn't an AEW show technically, but AEW did work with New Japan on that. They had also mentioned, yes, I agree, AEW have outgrown the cross-promotion stuff and need to switch it up. Need to switch it to Ring of Honor now. What do you mean, like work with, I mean, obviously they own Ring of Honor. So, like, use more Ring of Honor women? I would rather they use women from Ring of Honor than use women from Stardom. Unless the woman from Stardom made sense. But, like, Momo is not this world-renowned name. And obviously it's going to be a good match. But, like, does anyone really care that much? Just do the match in fucking Stardom. Just do that match. If Mercedes is holding a Stardom or / New Japan title, have him fucker defend the title over there against Momo and do the match that you want. And on AEW television, I just don't give a shit. I guess it gives Momo exposure. But, again, who is that? Like, I don't know who this is. I don't really give a shit. And it's not like, oh, I don't know who she is, so she doesn't matter. They really haven't done a great job of explaining it or why she's, like, special. Like, I know of some women from Stardom and New Japan. I know of Momo, like, I've heard of her, but, like, it's just a match with no real history or, I don't know. They explain why it's happening. I get it. I just don't really care. Wrestling fan said, what's going on with Britt Baker? I haven't seen her on AEW television in a while. Is she injured? I don't know what the fuck's going on with her. I mean, I think she was just suspended or something. We have not seen her, I don't think, since the All Out match or the All In match, right, with Mercedes. No, that's actually not true. She came back after that to, like, start a program with Serena Deeb. And then she remember she was like, oh, yeah, nobody cares. And people are like, oh, yeah, it's a work. Brother, she has not been on the show since then. That was 4 fucking months ago. Is she hurt? No, I don't think. No, I think she was at the red carpet for that, the Queen of the Ring movie a couple days ago. Doesn't mean that she's not hurt, but I'm just saying I feel like we would have known about that. She was hurt previously for like a year. Not recently, though, I don't think. They just don't have any plans for her. I just feel like at this point, Britt Baker is not needed in AEW. There's so many more women that are much better than she is. I know she was the face of that division for a while. She comes back to do even what? Like, we're not even seeing Jamie Hayter on the show. I would much rather see women like Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander, Willow, Thunder Rosa before I see Britt Baker again. I just feel like they've moved past their need to focus on Britt Baker as a focal point on that show. They did probably one of the biggest matches they could do with Mercedes and Britt, and it was not good. It sucked, to be quite honest with you. It was, by the standard of what it should have been, that match was not good at all. And she really hasn't done a whole lot since. Maybe she can go to AEW or WWE. I know she's under contract for a long time at AEW, so that's probably not happening anytime soon. Maybe they let her go. I have no idea. Johnny said, Deanna's time at AEW has been horrendous. I mean, they booked her well when she first came in for that Toni Storm feud. I thought that was really well done. But as soon as that ended, I mean, yeah, she worked with Thunder Rosa and beat her a whole bunch of times, but their feud never really played out on Dynamite, and she has barely been featured since then. So, yeah, Deanna's running AEW, where I feel like that was the best fit for her. If she went to WWE when she left TNA, that would have been great. I don't know if they would have booked her properly. But in AEW, it really hasn't been much better. Fernando said Mercedes versus Athena has to happen. I agree. I don't know why it hasn't happened already. Athena's under the Ring of Honor Witness Protection Program right now. But, yeah, that match has to happen at some point. Malcolm said, Daniel Malcolm, it would be like when WWE kept the belt on Nikki just to break AJ's record. Yeah, talking about keeping the belt on Mercedes just to break Jade's record. That is literally the only reason why Nikki Bella was champion for a year in 2015. Nothing against Nikki Bella, but her reign sucked for the most part. No one really gave a shit. And she literally lost the belt within days of breaking the record. That is the only reason why she was champion for that long. And AJ left the company earlier that year, so it kind of made sense as to why they would have her break that record. And with the whole Heat on Punk thing and the AJ Stephanie stuff, which I acknowledged on Twitter about a week ago and it kind of went viral, That doesn't surprise me at all. Johnny said, are you excited to see Monet versus Billy Starks? Am I excited? No, but I think it'll be a quality match. I'm more excited for that match for the sole reason that it should lead at some point to Mercedes and Athena. That's a much bigger attraction. I think Billy's good, though. Johnny said, Fernando said this match would be a squash, talking about probably the tag title match, I would imagine. Johnny also said, maybe the murderous machines caused the DQ in the match. That would be dumb. I think AEW doesn't really do DQs on pay-per-view. Thank fucking God. I feel like that'd be lame. That's a TV finish. Grunt said, Outrunners Hurt Syndicate should be a fun breather, in between the big-time matches. I agree. On the Ball said, Stone Cold appearance in AEW. That is not going to happen. Would be cool. Not going to happen. And even to do what? What the fuck would he even do in AEW? He's not going to, if they use someone from WWE, it should be to put over someone in AEW. If Cena's beating Edge in WWE, theoretically, would Stone Cold show up to fucking stun someone? Who does that really help? It'd make for a surreal moment. I also don't think Stone Cold would want to do it. And Stone Cold isn't under, an active competitor's contract anyway, so that's not going to happen. Yeah, Grunt was also thinking about AJ Styles. On the Ball said, AJ versus Bryan versus Omega and Ospreay. Yeah, any of those. I mean, Bryan isn't really full-time anymore, but, who knows. You also said she had great matches with Willow and back-to-back with Stag. Mercedes has had quality matches. It's just that we need to see more consistently. Grunt said, I meant, Dynasty, not Wrestle Dynasty. I know what you mean. On the Ball said, no, I mean switch the partnership with New Japan and CMLL to Ring of Honor. I mean, they all work with each other. It's not like you need to switch the partnership. They all work together. There's no really switching up of the partnership. New Japan works with CMLL. CMLL works with Ring of Honor and AEW. Ring of Honor is AEW. There's no real difference between the two. So it doesn't really, there's no need to switch up the partnership. They fucking own Ring of Honor. So it's all the same roster anyway. Johnny said, you should have done an I don't give a shit rant. You'll get one of those once in a while here on the stream. I don't give a fuck about Mercedes and Momo, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a quality match. I have a lot of I don't give a shit rants. That's not really that big of a deal. There's a lot of... The whole Rock thing before Cena turned heel, that was an I don't give a shit rant. If I've ever done one of those before, that would certainly be it. The Ball said, Britt's only good match was the lights out match with Rosa carrying her. I don't think Britt's bad. Britt is improved. I will give her that. But that was her best match in AEW, I would probably have to say. Wrestling Fan 13 said, I read a report that Rey Fenix is going through medical exams and he will be signed soon if he hasn't already. When do you think Rey Fenix will make his debut, at WrestleMania or before? I could see it being before. It depends on what they have in mind for Penta. If Penta's going to be in a tag team match with Rey against the New Day and a partner or something, then Rey and the Lucha Bros versus New Day and a partner would be fucking awesome. Honestly, I could just see them saving him for after Mania. It depends on if they've settled on Penta's WrestleMania match yet, which hopefully they have. He's not working with fucking Kaiser, obviously, and Pete Dunne at WrestleMania. I also don't think the Lucha Bros versus Kaiser and Penta, or rather Kaiser and Dunne is a Mania match anyway. So maybe they're in a multi-team match for the Raw Tag Team titles. I guess that's possible. I think it's more likely he shows up after Mania. It depends on what Penta's doing, so I'm not really sure. But if I had to take a guess, I'm going to say probably... I'll say before, if they really want to capitalize on it. I'm just not sure what that match is. John Ritland joining us. Obviously, check out his channel, Real Honesty with John Ritland. It is great work. Great to see you, John, here in the chat. Hope you're doing well, my friend. He said, honestly, AEW has done a much better job of building the bigger matches for this card, even if some of the feuds don't interest me. I agree. I think they've done a very good job of building the bigger matches on this show. John also said, biggest criticism I've had of Mercedes isn't so much her in-ring work, it's the promos. They never sound genuine, so it causes me to lose interest in her. I agree. I think Mercedes' promos have always been an issue. This is not an AEW thing. Her promos in WWE also, for the most part, were not great. I don't know if it's her delivery or what, but her promos are just fucking... Yeah, I get it. It's obnoxious. That's the point. She's a heel. But, the laugh is awful. I don't know. I'm not a big Mercedes promo fan. I never really have been. Even in NXT, her promos were not great. They were better then than they were now, shockingly. I don't know. So it's not like whoever's writing her, because her promos in WWE weren't amazing either. Her matches were always better than the promos were. Johnny said Britt does great in hardcore matches. That she does. That is kind of her strong suit. And Grunt said, I can see Dom jumping in with the New Day just to keep this Mania tradition of facing his father going. Yeah, maybe. I mean, Dom's kind of busy right now with Braun Breaker and whatever the fuck they're doing there. I wouldn't mind that, though, Dom and New Day. I mean, the thing with that, though, is that I think even Dom had kind of, not shit on the New Day, but even he was like, yeah, you guys shouldn't have done what you did to Big E. So then just for him to team with New Day, I feel like it's kind of random. But I wouldn't mind it. Ray and the Lucha Bros versus Dom and New Day, that's not a bad idea. John Ritland said, she strikes me as someone who believes her own hype, and it's sticking out more than she's got more freedom, quote unquote. I won't go on the Mercedes rant here. There's not really a rant, but let's just say I completely agree with you. I don't think Mercedes is overrated. I think Mercedes is indeed amazing. But what I am saying is, I think she herself believes her own hype a little too much. I saw all this talk, and I'm not even saying I wasn't among these people, but I saw all this talk when she left WWE 3 years ago. She walked out 3 years ago. She's been a free agent, or at least out of WWE officially for over 2 years now. I saw so much talk about, oh my God, she's going to go work for Disney. She's going to get so many acting roles. She is a star. There's no doubt about that. But like, she has done all of one movie in the last 2 years. And it was one of the worst movies I've seen in the last 5 years. It was fucking atrocious. And also her role in it, it's not like, oh, the movie was bad, but she was great. She also sucked. I mean, yeah, she was in The Mandalorian, and she did well in The Mandalorian. She didn't really have a whole lot to do, though. So, again, she is a star, but I think some people do over kind of hype Mercedes as being this massive game changer. She has not been a game changer for that division at all. Her booking in AEW has been very questionable, very up and down. Her matches have also been up and down. Not every match she has had has been amazing. Some of the matches that she had with Sheeta kind of sucked. The Britt Baker match sucked. Some of the TV matches she's had have not been amazing. So she's not really my favorite, but I do think she's great in the ring. Her promos are not great. I mean, she's to act like she's like the greatest thing ever. Like, is she one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time? I mean, probably yes. But I think a lot of people. I think she. To put it lightly, as I've said about The Rock before, I feel like she likes the smell of her own farts. I apologize for the gross comparison, but I feel like that's the best way to kind of sum up Mercedes Moné in a vacuum. I think she's great. I just think that she also thinks that she's I feel like the character that we see on the show is kind of who she can act like in real life, or how she perceives herself. Maybe not. Maybe she's a super sweetheart. I don't know. I've never met her before. I have no idea. So my opinion really doesn't matter. But I'm just saying. That's the perception that she gives off. And if she does that great of a job of acting like that big of a bitch on TV, and she's the exact opposite in real life, and she doesn't act like she's not, she is very humble and whatnot, then she is an amazing actor after all, because she makes it very convincing on television. John Ritland also said, since they're in LA for Revolution, do you think they'll try to incorporate more celebrities? And no, Big Boom AJ doesn't count. Maybe I could see a celebrity maybe getting involved in the Toni Storm, Mariah May Hollywood match, the Hollywood ending match. Definitely possible. Grunt said it's got to be Kendrick Lamar after Drake showed up at Chamber. That would be funny. I saw a report that I think people in AEW wanted to try to get Kendrick in AEW. I doubt he'd be interested, but it would be fucking funny. Johnny said Britt Baker's acting in Cobra Kai was bad. I mean, I'm not going to doubt that. I haven't seen the show, so I don't know, but I feel like she was, I don't know. I mean, she was a much bigger star for AEW a few years ago. So then wanted to get her in the show when she was at her highest of popularity makes sense. It probably wasn't because she was a great actor, because she has no acting experience aside from what she's done in AEW. Talking about Britt there. John also said average Grunt, the A minor line might hit differently if Deeb is in attendance, given who she's married to. I get that reference. Grunt said, I am definitely on the Mercedes is overhyped train, have been for years. And Micah is joining us. What's up? GSME says, what's up, Micah? Thank you for joining us. Always great to see you, my friend. And Grunt, all you have to know about the Deeb lore is just look up who she's married to or is dating or whatever. Just a quick Google search will answer that question. Wrestling Fan 13 said, honestly, the best promo Mercedes has cut since debuting for AEW was her Big Business promo. That's the last time her promos have really resonated with me. Yeah, that was her first one. And it's all been downhill since then as far as her promos are concerned. There's been a lot of cringy ones, too. Not even just okay, that's okay. I'm talking about she's cut a lot of bad fucking promos, though. A lot of bad ones. So, I don't know. Some are good, some are pretty awful. They're just not consistent is the issue. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if it's her or what they're giving her to say. But she's the common denominator, I'll tell you that much, because it was happening in WWE, too. Mike has said belt tomorrow night and goes on a run, but I think Christian Cage will probably cash in. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So let's get into some more of these matches here in the AEW prediction stream that we got going on. Oh, man, there's a lot of bangers. Where do we even start? We already went through Hurt Syndicate and Mercedes. Let's go Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. Why not? Steel cage match. I think there's, first of all, very good chance this match opens the show because there's so many bangers on this show. They could start with that. They could start with MJF and Adam Page. We'll do these two matches next. Ospreay and Fletcher could go either way. They've had a handful of matches so far in AEW. I know they had a match on Dynamite like a year ago. They don't really count that one, I guess. That was when Ospreay first showed up in AEW. That was an excellent match. But they're really just counting the matches they had at Full Gear and at World's End. Fletcher won that first one at Full Gear clean, which was fucking awesome. I was not expecting that at all. That was great. They had a rematch at World's End as part of the Continental Classic semifinals, and Ospreay avenged the loss there, but the feud did not end. They ended up having a tag team match at Grand Slam that Ospreay won. I think Ospreay's winning here. Honestly, though, I would have Fletcher go over. Like, I think for all the talk about AEW, doesn't do good enough of a job of creating stars, which I do agree with to a certain extent, Fletcher is someone they've done a great job with. He is someone that wasn't coming in with the resume of an Okada or a Mercedes Moné. He came in as a tag team guy. I don't give a fuck about Mark Davis at this point, and what they're doing with him, I don't care. Kyle Fletcher's really broken out since joining the Don Callis family as a breakout single-star heel on this show. He is awesome. He's a good promo. He's excellent in the ring. They've booked him very well. If he loses here, he's not dead in the water. He'll be fine. Especially if he goes on to win the TNT Championship. That's what I think is happening here. I think Fletcher loses, but their way of bouncing back with him is beating Garcia for that TNT title. That's where I see this going. I think Ospreay will win. Where Ospreay goes from here, quite honestly, I don't know. Like, he already feuded with MJF over the International Championship, I think it was. It was the International belt. I guess that mixed up with the Continental Championship. Two belts that don't really mean a whole lot. But he's already feuded with MJF. Him and Omega were just recently friends, so he wouldn't feud with him, I don't think. What else has Ospreay done? He's feuded with Ricochet. I mean, they could go back to that. Ricochet beat him in their last match during the Continental Classic, so I guess they could go back to him and Ricochet now that Ricochet's a full-on heel. That's possible, I suppose. Him and Moxley they haven't done. They could do him and Moxley at the next show, so I guess that's possible. I don't really know where Ospreay definitively goes from here, but I do think Ospreay wins. Would love a Kyle Fletcher win, though. I think that'd be cool. MJF and Adam Page, this is another match I'm really looking forward to. The only other match, if you can believe it, and this has been acknowledged on TV, the only other match they've had in the 6 years they've been in AEW together was at the, not Winter is Coming show, but it was basically what their Winter is Coming edition was before Winter is Coming was called Winter is Coming. Back in December, I think, of 2019 or November. It was when MJF won the first Dynamite, dozen battle royal win ring, whatever. He beat him for that ring. So that was back in December or November of 2019, over fucking 5 years ago. And they have not had a one-on-one match since. I think this is the perfect feud for both guys right now. The Daniels stuff was weird. The match was good that they had the unsanctioned match, the Texas Death Match. I thought it was a pointless program because Daniels is not an in-ring competitor, definitively as an active member of the roster. They ended up making it make sense, though, with Adam Page showing remorse for what he did to Daniels and kind of turning a babyface in the process. The MJF Jeff Jarrett stuff was a complete waste of fucking time. Please keep Jeff Jarrett, and I like Jeff Jarrett, keep him as far away from this match as possible. Do not have him interfere. Do not have him attack MJF afterward. He does not need to be on the show. Let's forget that even happened. I'm sure they'll revisit it at some point. There's no need to. Who cares? As far as who wins this match, MJF beat Adam Cole at World's End. Has he even really wrestled on the show since then? I don't know. I don't think he has. He may have had he beat Jeff Jarrett, I think, right? I don't remember. Honestly, I have no idea. I think they had a match and he beat him. Again, I honestly have no recollection at all. Or no, he beat Dustin Rhodes. He didn't beat Jared. He never faced Jared. He beat Dustin Rhodes. They had a quality match. I forgot about that. I think Paige needs this win more. I'm going to go Paige, because Paige lost to Jay White twice. Then he failed to win the championship at World's End. Now, he has since retired. Christopher Daniels retired. We don't know for sure. I'll say Adam Page, and then maybe they can have a rematch where MJF wins and they can build to a rubber match or something. I don't know. This is difficult. You know what, though? They could tell the story that Adam Page cannot beat MJF because MJF just keeps beating him. So you know what? I'll go MJF. I think MJF wins this match. Because if Adam Page wins, the feud is over, and I feel like there's more to come between these two. So I'll say, I mean, they could always continue it if Page wins. I'll say MJF wins. That's my pick. MJF wins that match. And then we have 4 more matches to get to that I'll get back to in a moment. If you haven't already, if you're watching this video, watching it after the fact, please like the video. I would appreciate it. Subscribe. Be notified every single time that we go live here on the channel for an emergency stream like this, doing AEW Revolution predictions for Sunday night. I would very much appreciate it. Also, I'm trying out my new 4K camera, so I adjusted the frame bit per second, whatever the fuck it's called. So it should be fixed now. If it's lagging or was lagging earlier, hopefully it's better. If it's not, please let me know. But yeah, Alexis got me this new 4K web camera that I'm now using, and I think it's pretty good quality. So if you're enjoying it or if you notice a difference, thank you, and please let me know. Backtracking on the chat here. See what everyone's saying. Let's see. John said, I've seen some argue that Toni versus Mariah should main event Revolution. While I get it, there's no way Copeland and Moxley don't close the show. Now, I agree. I think Toni and Mariah should close the show. But I think whatever they're doing with Cope and Moxley hopefully is big enough to where that's going to end the show. They need to close the show with that. Or if Mariah May and Toni Storm are going the cinematic route and are taking their match over the course of the entire show, and that's why it's not main eventing. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But if Mox just retains with Wheeler, Yuta interference, or some nonsense bullshit finish like that, then fuck that. If that's what they're closing the show with and there's no title change, no cash-in, no nothing, that would just be ridiculous. Johnny said, do you prefer Escape the Cage or pinfall/submission cage matches? Escape the Cage. I feel like to have a cage match, I mean, at that point, if you can just pin or submit someone inside of a cage, just to have a Hell in a Cell match. No difference. The whole point of the cage is to escape it. I would much prefer Escape the Cage. And no door shit either. We're talking over the top. No walking through the door. The door thing is just fucking stupid. Grunt said, if I don't at least see a sign of Kendrick's meme face in the crowd tomorrow, I'll be greatly disappointed. I agree. John said Ospreay beats Fletcher, but I could also see it opening the show. Yeah, I definitely see that opening the show. Johnny said, hopefully weapons are used in the cage match. What, in this cage match? I mean, maybe. AEW, do they do cage matches where you can use weapons? I guess they did with Strickland and Page, right? I don't see that happening here, but I wouldn't complain. We've gotten to a point in the feud where it would be necessary, so I'll say that. Wrestling fans said Ospreay and Fletcher have incredible chemistry. I think their match will be the match of the night at Revolution. I think it could be. There's a lot of potential matches of the night, and these two are killing it right now. Against each other individually. I'm looking forward to this match. Grunt said Fletcher and Ricochet have both been elevated so much in the last 6 months. Fletcher definitely. Ricochet, I was not expecting it at all, because Ricochet's first couple of months in AEW were kind of very lackluster. He was having fine matches, but like him as a babyface wasn't really clicking. And he's been a babyface for so long in like NXT, WWE, even in Lucha. He's not been a heel in forever. And it's what I wanted to see WWE try with him, and they never did. They never tried it. And they did now in AEW, and he's killing it. So, yeah, Ricochet has really been, he's in a much better spot now than he was in WWE. Just even 9 months ago. So I think he made the right call in retrospect. Grunt said Ospreay versus Swerve for the world title at All In. And this time Ospreay wins. Yeah, but is Ospreay champion or is Swerve champion? Probably Swerve, right? Swerve getting the belt back, I would love to see it. I don't think Swerve gets the belt back by beating Moxley. Should he? Dude, at this point, almost anyone would be better than Moxley. I didn't even really want Moxley to win the championship in the first place. But that's not a bad idea. Johnny said Mark Davis might become the Marty Jannetty of the Rockers. Might. He is. I don't need to see what happens next with Mark Davis to tell you that he is easily the fucking Marty Jannetty of that tag team. Could you have 2 Shawn Michaelses? Yes. Mark Davis is good. He is not Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher has always been better, and they're booking him infinitely better than Mark Davis anyway. Johnny also said Kyle should win. Will doesn't need to win. Yeah, Kyle should win, but he's not. I don't think he's going to. I'd be pleasantly surprised if Ospreay does lose, though. Johnny says I would book Daniel versus Kyle for the TNT title at Dynasty. I think that's probably going to happen. I think Kyle loses here, but he wins the TNT title next month at Dynasty. So not a bad way to bounce back. On the Ball said Ospreay and Bryan versus Darby, or Ospreay versus Bryan and Darby were my favorite. I forgot about Ospreay and Darby. They had that fucking great match on Dynamite, right? At the New York Arena, Manhattan Center, as part of the Continental Classic. That was an awesome match. Ospreay and Bryan is still number one for me. And Ospreay's had so many great matches. He is easily already has the most amazing resume of anyone in AEW history as far as banger matches, with MJF twice, Bryan, the Swerve match, the Ricochet match, the Darby match, the Fletcher match. Like, this guy's resume is unfucking matched. Takeshita too, and that's not even counting the matches he was having in AEW before that a few years ago when he wasn't under contract with the company. But anyway, yeah, those matches were great. You also said, I see Darby, Hangman, Ospreay, Jay White being the 4 top guys for many years to come. I hope so. All 4 guys are great. That is really your 4 pillars in many ways. John Ritland said, about MJF and Jarrett, to quote Bobby Heenan, can MJF get arrested for beating up the elderly? Yeah, seriously. Mike has said earlier, backtracking a little bit, do you think we see Samantha Irvin debut and help Ricochet win, and maybe Nana joins them too by turning on Swerve? I will answer that in a little bit. We're about to talk about that match in a moment. I'm going through the chats here before we get to the next couple of matches. Johnny said, I wouldn't mind seeing Hangman and Swerve become tag team champions later in the year. Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be a bad idea, going off their history. Maybe not this year, but at some point, that would be cool. You know, I didn't really want to see it, but Swerve and Keith Lee made for a great tag team. Swerve in her glory. I thought they should have been utilized as single stars at that point, but when they were teaming in 2022, they made for an awesome team. They had some really good matches too with the Acclaimed and the Bucks and a few other teams as well. Wrestling fan said, quite honestly, Ricochet's heel character is growing on me. Props to him. He's showing that he's capable of being more than just an excellent in-ring talent. I agree. He's really elevating his game on all fronts. He's never going to be the best talker in the company. No shit. But, like, he's put together some quality promos. He's getting good heat. He's kind of leaning into being an obnoxious prick. Like a cocky, like, oh, look what I can do. I'm the best in the world type thing. He's doing a great job. And having quality matches to boot. On the Ball said, it has to be Hangman. I only see MJF as a TV guy. Interesting. I disagree. MJF is a great part of the roster, and MJF has had some amazing matches in his own right in this company. Matthew Rodriguez is joining us here in the show. Matthew, great to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. He said, hey, Grim, I want to ask you, will you be interested in being a guest on my podcast? Absolutely, sir. Be sure to hit me up on, whether it be here, I guess, or, Twitter or whatever. Email me or whatever. I don't know. Just find me on the website, WrestleRank.com. A lot of different ways to contact me. Hit me up, and hopefully we can work something out. Would love to be on your show. That'd be a lot of fun. Micah said this 4K camera is nice. Thank you, Micah. I appreciate that. Thank you for the feedback. Shout out to Alexis. Yeah, seriously. She was the one that got it for me. On the Ball said, depends on who they want to dethrone Mox. Yeah, we'll see what happens in the main event. No lags were good, Grunt says. Good to know. Wrestling fan said the sound's cutting in and out a bit for me. Interesting. Is it cutting out for everyone else, though? Let me know. If it is, I apologize. That's a mic issue. That's not a camera issue, I believe. Maybe it's a stream issue. I don't know. Maybe try closing the stream and then rejoining. It might be still a problem. I don't know why it's cutting in and out. That is weird. Let me just check. I don't think I'm talking too loud either. Sometimes if you talk too loud, it like cuts the audio and shit. It should be fine. Let's see. But yeah, let me know what your feedback. Let me know what your what's happening on your end. John Retland says the 4K camera works great. Alexis picked well. Yeah, thank you, John. I appreciate that. She definitely did pick well. I appreciate the feedback. On the Ball said I only see the international title changing hands. Did I say any other matches were changing? Any other titles were changing hands? I don't think so, right? Yeah, we'll get to the international stuff in a couple minutes. Willow's winning, Fernando said. I think so too. Grunt said all cage matches should have the option to win by pinfall or escape. Pinfall for the face, escape for the heel. Yeah, I agree. I mean, pinfall, I'm fine with pinfall, but like if you're asking me to choose, I would not do pinfalls in a cage match. I think escaping the cage is the better step. Otherwise, like, just do a Hell in the Cell match at that point. I'm objectively balanced again, says Will has to win. He doesn't have to win. Fletcher is more of the future. He said AEW don't do escape the cage. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. AEW doesn't do escape the cage. Swerve and Hangman used weapons in their cage match, Fernando said. I forgot about that. I'm mixing up On the Ball and Fernando because you have the same color icon in my chat, so I apologize. But yeah, Fernando said Swerve and Hangman did use weapons in their cage match. But I think that was like a lights out type thing, so I think that was specific to that match. On the Ball said the whole point of the cage is to keep them in. Yeah, but so is Hell in the Cell. I know Hell in the Cell people are broken out of, but like they've been using the escape. There's the whole fucking reason why the cage why people escape the cage. There's no roof on it. Hell in the Cell, if you want to tell that story where they can't escape, that makes sense. With the steel cage, it makes sense as to why they can escape to win because there's no top on it. So I understand that. It hasn't been used to keep people in like years. I gave up on that a long time ago. Wrestling fans said, do you think Jon Moxley will hold on to the AEW Championship until Double or Nothing and drop the title to Swerve with Wheeler Yuta turning on Mox to cost him the title? I will answer that question when we get to Mox and Cope as far as what I think could happen. I don't want to give it away here just yet. I don't give a fuck about Yuta, though, at this point, so just be perfectly honest with you. If Yuta's turning on Moxley and that's like the next feud, I don't care. But I'll talk about Cope, or Moxley, rather. If he retains, if he doesn't retain, we'll get to that momentarily. On the Ball said, Mox should be the champ. He's at his peak. BCC and Death Riders, that doesn't work. Mox should not be the champ. I disagree. Grunt said, is Motor City Machine Guns the best example of a team with two Shawn Michaelses? Yeah, the best example, probably not. Morrison and Miz, I know Miz has had way more success, but Morrison wasn't really, to call him the Marty Jannetty isn't really fair. He's a former TNA World Champion, Lucha Underground Champion. He's been in a lot of different promotions. Miz is a bigger star, but Morrison was also very successful. So I'm sure there's plenty of other teams like that. But Motor City is one of them. Both guys are evenly successful, are Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Grunt said Ospreay is the best AEW signing, no question. Only other signing that comes close is Danielson. Yeah, honestly, the Punk thing really hurt them. I'm not going to say Punk was their best signing considering what happened to him in the end, but he also had a great run there for as long as it lasted. He elevated some people, had some great matches and feuds. Punk's also, I know a lot of people don't like Punk or how things ended there, which I agree with, and it did kill the company. Not kill them, but it really hurt them in a lot of ways. But he also helped them in a lot of ways as well when he came in. So for all the bad, there is a lot of good. I think Ospreay is their best signing, then Danielson, and then Punk. I think Punk would have been higher had his run not ended the way that it did. But I think those are the top three signings, at least since they started. Let's see. Fernando said, the laugh is cringe. If you're talking about Mercedes, then I agree. On the Ball said, factions with mostly established talent never work. The NWO, Hall, Nash, and Hogan were all established, so that's not really a great point to make. And that's one of the greatest factions of all time. When they added other people, then sure, it was watered down, but initially it was amazing. Matthew said, one of my ideas for the show is to book the John Cena Farewell Tour, but in AEW. Boom. That's interesting. That's an interesting idea. If you want to do a podcast. Interesting. Fernando said, excellent taste by Alexis for the 4K camera. Yeah, thank you. She did a great job of picking this out. I think I had sent her this camera a while ago, and then she just randomly got it for me and surprised me with it a couple days ago. So, yeah, it's her first stream using it. I'm glad you guys enjoy. Dax, thank you for joining us, my man. Hope you're doing well. He said, are we allowed to talk about WWE 2 or nah? You're not. You will get banned forever. If you mention WWE, if there's anything about WWE at all, you're banned for life. WWE is not allowed. I'm just kidding. You can ask about WWE, but I want to keep this. The funny thing is, I said I wanted to keep this stream on the shorter side. We're already at almost an hour and a half. I didn't think so many people would join. I didn't think so many people would care to talk about AEW with me. But first of all, I appreciate it. It's a good problem to have. Second of all, if you do have any WWE questions, I might address it briefly. I'll probably talk more about it on the hashtag. So if you want to save it for Tuesday, we can talk about it there. You can talk about it here too. But I want to focus mostly on Revolution, to be honest. Just because I feel like if we talk about WWE, I'm going to get sidetracked and we'll be here for 3 hours. I don't have the time. I got shit I got to do. So no offense, but I appreciate you joining us nonetheless, Dax. Thank you so much. Wrestling fan then also said, the audio is working fine now. I closed out the stream and reopened it. Okay. So that's another thing. If the audio is not working for you, it might be everyone, but it also might just be you. So just a heads up, if it does weirdly work at some point, or not work rather, close the stream, reopen it. If it's still not working, please let me know. And it's probably an issue on my end. On the Ball said AEW don't have Hell in a Cell and they don't use that stipulation. Well, obviously. I know what you mean, though. John Ritland said, I don't give a shit, or I don't give a fuck about Yuta, says everyone, says everyone, even in his immediate family. I mean, he seems like a nice guy. I just don't care. He's very talented. I just don't give a fuck about the guy personally. I just don't care. Mike has said people call Wheeler Yuta Wheeler useless. That's not nice, but it's very apt. It's an apt thing to call him because he is useless in that group. You got Claudio, you got Pac, you got Moxley, these great big talents. And then you have Wheeler Yuta. Micah also said, I never understood why Yuta joined Mox, ? When they first attacked Bryan, he was crying about it, and I never understood how he came to terms with joining them. He should have battled Mox's group. I don't think it was like intended. Maybe, first of all, it could have been intended from the start that he was always with them, and that maybe he wanted to gain Bryan's trust or something. I'm not sure. I think they tried to explain it. Maybe he felt like he had to join them because they were, they were on the right, they were representing the right cause. I have no idea. Honestly, I don't give a fuck about Wheeler Yuta enough to really try to make sense of it, so I can't even say. Grunt said, I mean, Punk is why I give AEW a chance, so there's that. I mean, Punk did have a lot of pros. Him being in AEW had a lot of pros. A lot of cons, but there was a lot of pros to it too. On the Ball said NWO is why it doesn't work as far as putting all established people in a group. Brother, I get what you're saying, but initially it's the biggest angle in like wrestling history. When Hogan turned heel and joined with Hogan and Nash, I mean, it's all about how they're booked. It's all about how they're booked. You can't say a group with all established talent doesn't work. I mean, that's not, in every case, that's just not true. And also, that isn't really true in the case of BCC. If that's what you're comparing it to, Wheeler Yuta is not established as much as Moxley or Claudio or even fucking Pac. So you can't say it doesn't work. I mean, it all depends on how they're booked. You can't blanket statement say if you have all established people, it doesn't work, or it will work, or it won't work, because it just depends on the group and who's involved. Matthew said, spoiler of my podcast, they wanted to do John Cena versus Kenny Omega at All In. As a heel, Cena selling his soul to Don Callis and the Don Callis family. Well, then that would mean, if you're saying John Cena is in AEW, that's where the heel Cena works. Don Callis being Cena's manager would be interesting, though. That would be interesting. Obviously, Cena doesn't need him, but that would be interesting. Fernando said Ultimate Warrior and Sting was the perfect example of two guys who started as a tag team and got equally over as solo megastars. You're right. They did. Very successful, the two of them. John Ritland said they've tried with the Yuta, Garcia, and some others. Really, only Garcia has sort of worked out so far as far as how fans react to him now. I think Garcia's he's come a long way. I really didn't care about him too much when he first started there, and like the Jericho Appreciation Society shit. He should have broken away from that shit 3 years ago. I mean, the Garcia push that we're getting now should have happened in 2022. Jericho held him back. You cannot convince me otherwise. That was a complete waste of fucking time. He had to climb his way out of that rut to get back to being as over as he was 3 years ago. Completely fucked him over, but at least he has recovered, thankfully, for the most part. The TNT title run isn't, run of the world, isn't lighting the world on fire, but he has gotten over to a certain extent, and he has been a good quality pickup for them. I think him re-signing with AEW was also the right call as well, late last year. Wrestling Fan said, overall, I would give last night's SmackDown a 7 out of 10. Aside from the Cody and Randy's promos and incredible Bianca and Naomi segment, which was indeed incredible. I love that segment. Everything else was kind of middle of the road. Longest match was 11 minutes. Yeah, I really enjoyed SmackDown last night. I thought the title change was the right one. Um, Everything you mentioned was good. I love how they're tying everything in with the tag team division. I like that. The women's U.S. title match I thought was fun for what it was. So, I mean, I liked a lot more. Like you said, middle of the road, yeah, that's fine, but it's better than it being bad or completely pointless. Not every show is going to have long matches, but then again, SmackDown's also a 3-hour show now, so you can't really get away with only having 11-minute matches. Like, they should be longer than that. That I agree with. Mike has said, where are the Bucks? They can't even show up to work with their own company. Pathetic. I don't care. Who cares? Who's asking about the Bucks? I'm sure the Bucks they obviously have their fans. I kid. But look, is anyone really, like, honestly, genuinely, I ask you guys, and there's only 10 of us here, so obviously this isn't a great sample size. I genuinely ask you, is there anyone clamoring for the Bucks to come back to the show? Genuinely, and maybe it's my timeline being biased or something on Twitter, I have not seen a single fucking soul say, you know what AEW needs right now? They need the Young Bucks back on television. I mean, they're not, like, awful, but, like, to me, they're channel-changing material. At this point, they're channel-changing material. I do not give a fuck about the Young Bucks. What also makes me laugh, I don't follow New Japan, so I don't really care that much. But, like, I saw them win the New Japan Tag Team titles in January. That was 2 months ago. They defended those fucking belts since then? Are they having this amazing run over New Japan that I'm just not aware of? Like, what? Why even put the belts on them? What was the point? They put belts on AEW talent, New Japan belts on. I really don't care about New Japan at this point. I don't really care anyway, but, like, especially these days. I mean, like, they put belts on these people that are in AEW, like Mercedes. At least Mercedes has shown up to Japan shows, Japanese shows, and Stardom shows, whatever. And she has defended her championship. Have the Bucks defended the belts once since they won them? I don't think so. Who cares? Who gives a shit? What was the point? I was a big Bucks fan at one point. These days, I just could not bring myself to care. Anyway, going back a little bit. So anyway, long story short, I can't say the Bucks not showing up really bothers me. Will they show up at some point to save AEW from the Death Riders? Probably, but who even cares? Genuinely, who cares? Fernando said the NWA changed the NWO. I keep saying NWA. The NWO changed the business. Exactly. Like, I don't think it's fair to say, a group with people that aren't established or are all established won't work. The NWO did work. For a while, it did work. So that's just historically, objectively not true. Grunt also said the average foundation in 97 also would have to have a word with you. I mean, I don't know if everyone in the foundation was established, but most of them were by 97, most of them were. So, yeah, I think the Hart Foundation is also another good example. Johnny said, do you think Don Callis and the family gets involved in the cage match and the international title match? I fucking hope not. I mean, these matches are amazing on their own. They don't need interference. I mean, if Fletcher wins, then cool. But then it's like, then Ospreay still has an issue with other people in the Don Callis family. It's like, we don't need this. He should be done. He's feuded long enough with this group. And the same thing with Omega. No thanks. You can have fucking Brian Cage and Lance Archer interfere. Who cares? So, I mean, is it possible? Yes. Would I like to see that? No. The whole point of the cage should be to keep that shit out. But has that ever really happened in wrestling? For the most part, no, it hasn't. Micah is no Garcia fan. He says Daniel Garcia is also useless. AEW has so many wrestlers that I don't care about, and they have no charisma, no characters, no personality. I don't know what they're doing over there. It's bad. Interesting. Micah is holding nothing back. Tell me how you really feel, my friend. I like Garcia. I think Garcia is a good worker. I think he's also improved as far as his personality is concerned and really connecting on a personal level. If they just let him be himself, which they have, I like Garcia. Yuta, I don't really care about. He's a good wrestler, but everyone on the roster is a good wrestler. Who cares? I don't know, whatever. There's a handful of people in that company I don't give a fuck about, but it's usually like the jobbers, like the premier athletes. They were on TV almost weekly at one point, and I have no idea why. They are awful. Like, they're good wrestlers, but, like, Daivari is fucking atrocious. Like, he is the definition of, I'm turning the show off and I will not turn it back on again until next week. Daivari is definition of channel-changing material. Tony Nese in 2025, who gives a fuck about Tony Nese? But again, these people are barely on the show, so it doesn't really matter. Micah also said, I watched Evolve this past Wednesday and enjoyed that. I like Cappuccino Jones, Superstar Sean Legacy, Jack Cartwheel, and Danny Palmer so far. Danny Palmer is already in NXT. The other ones are newer. I didn't watch Evolution. Evolution. I heard about the Evolution rumor, by the way. I did not watch Evolve. I'm probably not going to, aside from highlights, but I did hear where it was, I think Wrestling Fan said he watched it and he liked it, so that's 2 for 2 for so far. Yeah, Grun said, I'm not clamoring. No one's clamoring, no. And Fernando said, I don't miss the Bucks at all. Michael also said, I just feel like the Bucks should be there instead of taking so much time off all the time. Yeah, but if they're there, what are they doing, though? If I honestly don't care if they're not there. I really don't. If you don't have anything interesting for them to do, then don't put them on the show. That Elite angle last year was fucking atrocious. It sucked. So if that's the best they can do with them, honestly, just keep them off the show. Y said, thank you for joining us, Y. Great to see you. You mentioned the Punk stuff rubbed the wrong way about the Bucks, or rub people the wrong way about the Bucks, and they're washed. If that's what you mean, I understand what you're trying to say. John Ritland said, the Bucks keep leaving, coming back, and each time, the reactions get quieter and quieter. Their return to New Japan was flat as fuck and has done nothing to help anyone but the Bucks. I agree. Y said, the Bucks have been washed since the Cambridge storyline. I don't know what you're talking about, but that is really funny. Like, is that a joke or something? Like, what is Cambridge? Is that like are you talking about like since the like Nixon administration or something? Like starting like they haven't been relevant in decades or something like that? I don't know what the Cambridge storyline is. Or what you're trying to say, but whatever it is, it's funny. I wouldn't go so far as to say they're washed. I just don't care about the Bucks at all. Mike has said, I hope Samoa Joe and Omega are next to WWE hopefully this year. I doubt it, but wouldn't complain. Would be cool. Wrestling Fan said, I would honestly enjoy seeing the Young Bucks return, but as baby faces alongside Kenny Omega. The problem is we've already seen that too. Like they did that 2 years ago, and it was cool for a little while, but that quickly wore out its welcome. And by the end there, I didn't give a fuck about them at that point either. They were whiny, like they're better as heels because they're whiny babies on TV. Their characters are whiny babies. So honestly, keep Omega on his own. They've already turned on him at least twice. At this point, why even bother? Like he should stay as far away from them as possible. Johnny said Rikishi has been a great father-in-law to Naomi. I did it for Bianca. Yeah, I know. That segment last night was really good though. On the Ball said, Bucks can't get over with the more mainstream TV audience. If they return, they should try going solo and doing their own thing. I don't even care about them there at that point. I guess it's something different, I guess. Does anyone really care about a Matthew Jackson match? I don't. They're both good in the ring. I'm not saying that. I just don't give a fuck. But it's something different, I guess. Fernando also said, Will needs to move on from the Don Callis family after tomorrow. Yeah, he should. Grunt's taken off. He said, unfortunately, got to go. My phone, got to go charge his phone. He said, fun to chat with you guys. As always, take care. Grunt, thank you for joining as always, my friend. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoyed Revolution on Sunday. And everyone be sure to say goodbye to Grunt. We'll catch you on the next one. Fernando said, Tony should encourage the Bucks to WWE. LOL. I don't know, honestly, if they would even want to. Knowing Punk's there, they do not like Punk. We know Omega and Punk are not, like, tight, but, like, they're fine with each other. I think if there was a match between them and WWE, honestly, I think they would work together. I don't think the Bucks feel the same way. I'm not saying that the Bucks would have to work with Punk. They don't have to be with Punk at all. But, like, I don't know. They're already EVPs. I think they probably have a say as far as whether they stay or not, I would think. But if I'm Tony Khan, I'm like, do we need these guys here? Like, they seem like more of a headache. They have not a whole lot of value at this point. We've done everything we've can with them. We've put the belts on them a whole bunch of times. They've been trios champions. They've been faces and heels. Yeah, they're an established team, but like they've done it all. Who cares? Let's see. John said I'd throw Jack Perry in the end with the Bucks and the people we don't need to see on TV again pile. I like Jack Perry. I actually like Jack Perry as a heel. I like the Elite shit was garbage. It made sense to put him in the Elite, but like that whole run sucked, I thought, for the most part. Him and Bryan Danielson, who cares? Like that match they had it was a good match. I didn't give a fuck, but it was a good match. I actually like Jack Perry. Is he needed on TV? No, they have a lot of other people they could feature instead. But I actually don't mind Jack Perry. Fernando said Tony has to let go of the faction taking over AEW storyline. He seems to be obsessed with it. Yeah, they've done it at least 2 or 3 times at this point, and it's never, ever really that good. They did it like 2 or 3 times alone last year, and all of the incarnations of it sucked. So yes, hopefully they move away from that. Johnny said, will you watch Revolution in a movie theater? No. I've only watched, I said this earlier, but the only AEW pay-per-views I've watched in a movie theater were Full Gear 2021 and Revolution 2022. Just to put this in perspective, I get the pay-per-views free anyway because like they were on Bleacher Report at some point. They're not on Bleacher Report anymore. I still get the pay-per-views for free. I did not, obviously, when I go to the movie theater, I don't get the show for free. I pay for the show. I pay for the movie, whatever. I pay for the fucking ticket. I went out of my way to pay for those shows. I could have watched them at home. Watched them for free, and enjoyed them. I didn't. I went out of my way to buy those or go buy a ticket, go fucking drive 40 minutes to go watch those shows because they were such good shows, and I wanted to watch them with other people in a movie theater, and it was worth it. This show on Sunday, is it worth seeing in a movie theater? Honestly, probably yes. For me at this point, I just don't really want to do that. But not even if I wanted to or didn't want to. I'll be out tomorrow most of the day in New York City, actually, and I won't be back until closer to showtime, so it doesn't even really make sense for me to do it anyway. Yeah, so if AEW can get back to where they were 4 or 5 years ago, I would do it again. But they're not. But Revolution, if you were to pay for a movie, if you don't get the shows for free, and you buy the shows anyway on Triller, and you have you're either like, okay, do I go see it in a movie theater or at Dave & Buster's, or do I watch it at home? 1, you're definitely paying a lot less by going to a movie theater if it's close. 2, you're watching with other people. And 3, you can get like a popcorn and shit. If I was paying for the shows and I was closer to a movie theater and it made sense feasibly to do it, I would honestly probably just go see it in a movie theater. I'm not for this one. It depends on the show. But yeah, not for this one. Micah said, I don't want the Bucks in WWE. If they do, bury them just like Triple H did to the Club. The Bucks are better than the Club. Anderson and Gallows, I also didn't really give a fuck about. Y said, yeah, I didn't give a fuck, but it was a good match. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. Seriously, there's a lot of matches I could tell you in both companies. Yeah, it was a good match, but I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. I promise we'll get to the last 4 matches on this pay-per-view card in a moment. We have a lot of people coming and joining and leaving and whatnot, and it's great to see. So thank you so much for everyone joining now, either leaving a comment or not. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video if you haven't already. That would mean a lot. I'm trying to go through all of the chats before I get to the last 4 matches on this card, and then we'll probably wrap up soon after because I do have some other stuff to do a little bit later on. So let's get through some of these chats here. On the Ball said Jack Perry is more of a homegrown, younger talent. He is, because the Bucks were already established in other companies. Jack Perry was not, so that is true. John said, I want to throw in one movie-related comment that's also wrestling-related. Queen of the Ring was not that great overall, he says. It felt both rushed and overly melodramatic. Crew worked hard, though. Good to know. I hope to see it. Someone asked me at some point, do I intend to see it? I don't know what I said. I think I said maybe, or I wanted to, and I don't think it was really playing in a lot of theaters around me. I did find a theater that's playing it, so I will go see it. I'm busy this weekend, so I can't this weekend. I might see it. Tuesday I'm busy too. We have a $5 Tuesday, movie deal around us. I might just wait until then, to be honest with you. I might wait until I can go on a Tuesday. It would not be this Tuesday. I might have to wait until the subsequent Tuesday, but I'll probably see it at some point. Tyreek Cunningham joining us. Tyreek, hope you're doing well, my man. He was on the stream on Thursday as well, I believe. He's been in some other ones too, but Tyreek, hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining. He said, hey, Graham, sorry I'm late. You're fine. We still have 4 more matches to talk about here on the Revolution card, and arguably the 4 top matches on this card. So we'll talk about it in a moment. Micah said, GSM, I did enjoy when AEW did the pay-per-views at the theaters. I used to go, and I enjoyed them. I don't understand why they stopped. Maybe it was a money thing. I don't know. But, yeah, no, they were fun, though. I know they still offer them at Dave & Buster's. I used to watch, I've never seen a WWE or an AEW pay-per-view at Dave & Buster's. I know they do them. I did used to go, I don't know how many people did this. Let me know in the chat. How many of you ever used to watch the WWE shows pre-network at Buffalo Wild Wings? I think I saw at least 2 or 3 different pay-per-views, maybe even 4 at Buffalo Wild Wings. A friend of mine in high school told me about it, and I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, they do them at Buffalo Wild Wings. And I wasn't close to one at the time, but I made the trek over there to watch Elimination Chamber 2012 in Buffalo Wild Wings. I think I saw SummerSlam 2012 in Buffalo Wild Wings, Elimination Chamber 2013 at Buffalo Wild Wings, and SummerSlam 2013. And then the network came about and they stopped doing it. But that's where I used to watch the shows. And like, you're still paying money to be there and get food and stuff. But it was a nice experience. Other people were watching the shows and you're enjoying it with other people. It was cool. Y said AEW is not getting back there, unfortunately. I don't think so. I think the peak days of AEW to get back to where they were in 2021, early 2022 are over. But it could still be a quality product like we're getting right now. Mike has said AEW movie tickets were like $25 for the pay-per-view and then an extra 20 for snacks. It was great. Yeah, like, listen, you're paying probably that much for the pay-per-view anyway. I think AEW pay-per-views are like $50, $60, are they not? So if you're going to pay for all of that, the food and then the tickets, you might as well watch it with other people. And you're probably paying a little bit less for more shit with the food and to be there with other people. It was well worth it. Wrestling fan said if the pandemic didn't happen, what do you think AEW would have looked like today in an alternate timeline? The hot streak they were on in February 2020 heading into Blood and Guts. I don't think it would be much different because AEW, yes, they were building traction in 2020, but they came back fucking white hot. The only thing I think would have been different when they came back in 2021 with the road shows and like Punk came in, that would have happened sooner. I think Punk even acknowledged that he was going to go to AEW sooner than that. I mean, WWE was doing the Fox deal at that point, so I don't know if that would have been possible. But I think he even said that he talked to Tony Khan in 2020 before the pandemic. So Punk would have come in quicker. I think that the peak that they were at in 2021, it would have happened a little bit sooner. Danielson was not going to be free until 2021 regardless. So like the debuts of Cole and Punk would have been a little bit more spread out, but I think beyond that, I don't really think much would have changed. It probably just would have happened a little bit sooner. Tyreek said, when getting into more AEW, I think is what he's saying, are there any modicrums of Flatch that I should be keen on going forward? What the fuck are you talking about? Modicrums, I understand. What is Flatch? Fletcher? I have no idea what you're talking about. You're going to have to let me know. Micah said they should bring that back. The theaters thing, they should. On the Ball said, isn't that included with the deal they just did with Joe Hand? I think so. Maybe they are doing movie theater pay-per-views again. I don't know. I know they're doing Prime Video. No one talks about it being in movie theaters anymore. I don't know how many movie theaters actually offer the AEW pay-per-views anymore. But I know Joe Hand, I think, used to handle the ones when I was watching it a few years ago. So maybe they're still doing it. No one's aware of it. I don't know. Micah said GSM does love those $5 Tuesdays. I remember we used to talk about that. Yes, seriously, though. Seriously, listen. Oh, Tyreek meant Fletcher. So going back to your comment real quick, are there any modicrums of Fletcher that I should be keen on? Watches matches with Ospreay. Fletcher's awesome. So if you're getting into AEW just now and you haven't really watched him before, watches matches with Ospreay. I think he's very good. And his promos are good too. Yeah, talking about the $5 Tuesdays. Here's also my mindset. I would rather see more movies for less money than see less movies for more money. Does that make sense? So I'd rather like maximize the dollar. If I'm going to spend $20, let's put it this way. If an average movie ticket usually costs more than $10 on like an evening or something, okay, on an average evening night, if it costs $10, I'd rather go see 4 movies for $5 than 2 movies for $10 if I'm still paying the same amount of money. That's my mindset. And it's not even just that. Like sometimes Tuesdays just work better for me on the weekends. I'm busy anyway. I don't have time to go see a movie. Usually Tuesdays there's not a whole lot going on Tuesday nights. So typically that's usually when I go see it. But I'm a sucker for the deals. Let's put it that way. I'm a sucker for the $5 deal. Especially if it's a movie I'm like, I don't really feel like paying $15 to see this shit, especially if it might be bad. Like we paid like on when we saw Brave New World, I didn't see that on $5 Tuesday. If it's a movie I need to see immediately, the Marvel movies I'll typically pay full price for. But if it's a movie I'm like, like it might be good, I'll go see it, I'll go check it out, I'll pay $5 for it. Tyreek talking about the Buffalo Wild Wings thing. I never did that, but I wish I did. Never knew about that. Yeah, they were doing, I think Buffalo Wild Wings did pay-per-views for a long time. They have, I don't think they do it now. Buffalo, Dave and Buster's does with both companies. I don't think Buffalo Wild Wings does. I love Buffalo Wild Wings, though. I think I fucking love their food. I'm a bottom of the barrel type person. Fernando said, what would you do if you were running AEW to get them ratings up for Dynamite? I mean, that's such a loaded question. Better stories, honestly. Kind of listen more to your fan base. They've done a better job recently. I don't know if we can get the ratings back to what they were a few years ago. It's just WWE was garbage. So a lot of people were like, okay, AEW is my escape from WWE, and that kind of went away. So you can't control WWE getting worse is one thing. They have the talent, so it's not really a talent issue. I think doing stories that people really connect with, honestly, is the biggest thing I can say. And they have some of it, but just not a whole lot of them. Johnny said, or rather, UFC events at Buffalo Wild Wings are amazing times. They still do that with UFC, I think. I think I saw one. I was going to watch Brock's fight with, when Brock was in WWE and he fought Mark Hunt, I think it was, in 2016. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch it, and it was packed, and there was no way I could even see, so we just went back, and I think I watched it on my computer or something like that. But I think UFC they still do, and boxing events at Buffalo Wild Wings. I could be wrong. John Ritland said, peak AEW wasn't sustainable due to a large part and due to Khan's inability to recognize that he can't book this stuff. They need a committee to steer the ship correctly. I think multiple people giving input is key. Tony Khan doing it on his own is clearly just not working. I did see that he said the other day, though, he's gotten a lot of creative pitches that he turned down. Honestly, I loved hearing that because I feel like a lot of people on the roster will pitch their own shit, and half of it is fucking trash. Just because the talent has their own ideas doesn't make them good. Please see Chris Jericho. He probably still lets Jericho get away with whatever shit he wants. That shit's so bad. But everyone else, he's got to, correct course and do what only makes sense, and not just because they want to do it. Oh, yeah, I'll let you do whatever you want. That shit doesn't work. On the Ball said, I don't think AEW have peaked. WWE weren't on TV until the early 90s and peaked in the early 2000s. Yeah, but there was a different time, though. Back then, TV was different, pay-per-view was different. It's just a different period. When did TNA peak? TNA has been around for 20 fucking years. TNA is not, they're not at their highest point now. They peaked when they were on Spike in within a few years. AEW had an amazing rise. They were doing better ratings than most companies in their first year. But for as quick as the rise was, so was as quick as the fall. And I make it sound like they're dead in the water. They're not. But they also rose to prominence extremely quickly. They got a TV deal a lot quicker than most companies. But that also means as fast as the rise is, they're bound to go down a lot quicker than most companies too. It's just how it works. Mike has said, Daniel Bryan needs to head back to WWE so we can get Bryan versus Gunther. That would be a certified banger match. I don't think Bryan goes back for a run. I think he's done. Will he wrestle in WWE again? Probably for a one-off, but for a run, no. I don't think we'll ever get Bryan and Gunther. I think Bryan's just content doing part-time matches in AEW, but that would be a great match, though. Johnny said the pop for Brody Lee and Matt Hardy on Dynamite from Rochester would have been amazing. I still think about what that show would have looked like. And honestly, even without that show being in front of a crowd, that was still a great first pandemic show. One of the best Dynamites they've ever done, honestly, was that first pandemic show in March of 2020, which was almost exactly 5 years ago from I think a couple days from now. We're coming up on the anniversary. Tyreek said, indulged in some libations today. What are you talking about? Tyreek, what are you talking about in the chat? What are you talking about? What does that even mean? Please let me know. Johnny said Kyle had great matches in the Continental Tournament. Yes, he did. The price of eggs is crazy. The price of a fucking lot of things is crazy. Mike has said, I'm just hyped for this live action Lilo and Stitch, hoping for a trailer during spring break next week. Brother, the movie comes out in 2 months. Where the fuck is this full-length trailer with all the other characters in the movie? I'm still waiting on that shit. Hopefully it comes out next week, though. The movie comes out in 2 months. John said, I'd rather see more movies for less money, is what I said. He said, meanwhile, I'm seeing at times 4 movies in theaters with a monthly pass and paying $5 to $7 a pop on Amazon for others. I mean, it depends on what it is. Honestly, if I lived closer to a movie theater that did the monthly pass that John has, I would probably do it. To be honest, I would probably see more movies if that was the case. I'm just not right next to an AMC, so it just doesn't really work. Y said, how much longer is Wardlow, or how much longer does he have on his contract? Wardlow, I have no idea. Hopefully soon. Hopefully he's out soon, but I can't guarantee that. He's been off TV for a fucking year. Is his knee injury really that bad? You can't tell me he's been off the show for the entire time due to a knee injury. Half of that has got to be they just don't know what to do with him. Johnny said last time that he watched a movie that won Best Picture at the Oscars. That's a good question. I know we're getting off track here, but Best Picture winners. Let's look it up here live on the stream. The answer might be Oppenheimer. If Oppenheimer won Best Picture last year, then I saw Oppenheimer. Let me see. Let me look at winners and nominees here on fucking what's it called on Wikipedia. 1970s, 1980s. I am curious what is one Best Picture, so I'm going to look at it real quick. 2025, Anora, I have not seen. I know John Ritland liked that movie. I have not seen that. Alexis wants to watch it, so I'll probably see it at some point. Oppenheimer, I did watch. I liked Oppenheimer, so I did see that. Everything Everywhere All at Once, I watched it because it won the award. Actually, did not love that movie. I was in the minority on that. I thought it was good. It was definitely very good. I just didn't love the movie. Coda, I remember that when that came out. Did not fucking see it. Don't even know what it's about. No Man Land, did not see that. Parasite, did not see. Green Book, I know Alexis saw that. Did not see that. That was 2018. 2017, Shape of Water, did not see. 2016, Moonlight, did not see. Spotlight, different light movie. That was 2015, did not see. The Birdman shit, 2014, no fucking idea what that is. 12 Years a Slave, know what that is, do not see it. Argo, did not see it. The Artist, did not see it. King's Speech, Hurt Locker, Slumdog Millionaire. I honestly did not see any of those movies. I was also younger too, so I also have not gone back to watch them either. No Country for Old Men, I saw part of it on TV. Did not watch the whole thing. The Departed, I think I watched part of it. Did not see the whole thing. Crash, no. $1 Million Baby, no. Lord of the Rings, that was the third one. I've only seen the first one so far. Chicago, Beautiful Mind, Gladiator, may have seen. The other ones, did not see. American Beauty, Shakespeare in Love, Titanic, I've seen. English Patient, Braveheart, I think I've seen the whole thing on TV a long time ago. I don't know if I've seen the whole thing, but I've definitely watched parts of it. Forrest Gump, only just watched that recently. Only watched that for the first time a year or so ago. Great movie. Schindler's List, own it, have not seen it. Unforgiven, Silence of the Lambs, Dancing with Wolves. Oh, man, I've not seen almost any of these. I'm going back to like the last one I did see. We're back to 79 now. 77. Rocky in 76. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Oh, man, I saw these three. Okay, I saw The Godfather, Godfather Part 2 I only watched recently. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Rocky. I saw all of those movies for the first time in the last 9 months. Except for The Godfather Part 1. I watched that 5 years ago. Anyway, random shit aside. Let's get back to see what you guys are saying about in the chat here. Let's see. Fernanda said, I watched wrestling all the time at Buffalo Wild Wings back in the day. Yeah, it was great. Who would you book to beat Moxley if you were Tony? I'll talk about that in a moment when we get to the prediction. Micah said Vince killed AEW. His retirement in 2022 was what officially did it. Triple H taking over was him just putting dirt on the coffin. Yeah, it certainly did not help. Micah said they also need a writing team. TK is booking. Ring of Honor and AEW, you got to get a writing team and dedicate people to each different show. I agree. Doesn't seem like he wants to do that, but he absolutely should. On the Ball said Darby should dethrone Mox, and then Christian should cash in. John Ritland said libations means drinking, Graham. I've watched too many older movies. I've heard the word before. For someone who's a writer, you think I would know that. I've heard the word libations. I just couldn't tell you what it meant, but thank you for letting me know. So I can't say I am indulging in libations today personally. But I'm glad hopefully you're enjoying your day with the libations. Y said, LOL libations is the same thing Cody said at that presser. That's probably where I last heard the word. Yeah, with the Jey Uso thing, I forgot about that. On the Ball said, I want to see Mox versus Claudio and then Joe after Cope. Interesting. At some point, we'll probably get that. Jay White should screw Cope, forming Switchblade Conspiracy with Mox and Jack Perry. Why would Jack Perry be involved in that? Fernando said, what was your favorite item to eat at Buffalo Wild Wings? What was or what is? You know what's funny? I said earlier I went to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch Elimination Chamber 2012 and 2013. Elimination Chamber 2022, this was just a pure coincidence. I was going to a wrestling show after watching that show because that was in Saudi. So Alexis and I, before going to a wrestling show and after watching Chamber, we went to Buffalo on the day of Elimination Chamber 2022. Last week, I was hanging out with my brothers and legit did not do this on purpose. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings before Elimination Chamber. They didn't watch the show with me, and I didn't go there to watch the show. We just went there for lunch, and it just so happened to fall on Elimination Chamber Day. So it seems like it's like a fucking tradition now. I have to go to Buffalo Wild Wings before watching Elimination Chamber. That seems to be a tradition, so anyway, my thing to get, I love the buffalo chicken wrap. That is my go-to. I like their fries as well. That's what I'll get there. On the Ball said, then Gabe Kidd can bring his version of Bullet Club to AEW. Do we need Bullet Club in AEW? The answer is no. Fernando said, what was the first article on wrestling that you ever wrote? Not counting blog posts and stuff and reviews on my own website and whatever, the first actual article I wrote for Bleacher Report was 10 people who deserve to be pushed. And I think on that list, I definitely put Shad Gaspard, who got released, I think, soon after, actually. But I put Shad on that list. I forgot who else I put on there. You know what I should do? I should go back and read some of my old articles to see what I would think of them now and read them here on streams. I feel like that would be funny. And also see what my opinions on wrestling were 15 years ago. I feel like that would be a fun thing to do. But anyway, let's get to the final four matches here as part of the Revolution predictions before we wind down and call it a day. Swerve Strickland and Ricochet, #1 contenders match for the AEW World Championship. Ricochet won the first match on Dynamite. I think Strickland wins here. I was thinking before this past week that Ricochet would win again with an assist from Samantha Irvin, or Prince Nana turns on Swerve. I think both of those things could still happen. You're not going to have that happen and then Swerve wins. That's probably just not going to happen. I think Swerve wins here. Swerve does not need Prince Nana. They have a great act, but it doesn't need to be a thing. I still think Swerve wins. I think Swerve gets the title shot at Dynasty. So I'll say Swerve wins. Could Samantha Irvin still join Ricochet at some point? Yeah, I think she could. I think she probably will, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's on this show. Very possible that she does. I just don't see her debuting and then Ricochet loses. That would kind of be dumb. I'll go Swerve, though. Konosuke Takeshita versus Kenny Omega for the International Championship. I'm going Kenny Omega. I think Omega wins the belt, finally avenges those losses to Takeshita from a couple of years ago, and then goes on to face Okada in a unification match at All In. Just makes the most sense. I know it's been rumored. So easy win for Omega here. The match should be amazing. Their previous encounters have been great. Only one other singles match in AEW, aside from tag team matches and shit. And that was an awesome match. They should be just as good, if not better. So I have Omega winning. Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May Falls Count Anywhere match in the Hollywood ending match, which is not the main event, but it should be. AEW Women's World Championship. I said earlier, I feel like they'll take the cinematic route with this match, and if they do, that's probably why it's not main eventing. In addition to whatever they have planned with the main event, which is hopefully worthwhile. If it's just Wheeler Yuta getting involved and doing something fucking garbage and helping Mox retain, no cash in, no new champion, same old bullshit, that's garbage. Honestly, I'll say Storm retains. Because Mariah May was champion for, Storm was also champion for a while, but May was champion for many, many months. She beat Rosa. She beat Willow. She beat a whole bunch of people. Anna Jay a few times. I'm not really sure who else is left for her to face right now for that title. Maybe Statlander? Storm can defend against a whole bunch of people. Megan Bayne. I feel like she has some other opponents that she can face at this point. So I'm going to go Timeless Toni Storm, retaining the title, and then maybe she, I don't know, can face Athena or some shit. I don't know. But I think Mariah May loses again here. I think Toni Storm goes over and beats Mariah May decisively this time. And then in the main event, we'll close with this. Jon Moxley and Cope. Still not used to calling him Cope, but Jon Moxley and Cope for the AEW World Championship. You guys have been asking me all stream, what do I see happening here? Who walks up with the belt? Who dethrones Mox? Brother, honestly, I think Mox retains. I do. I think Mox retains. I think Darby Allin would have been the perfect fit to beat Mox. I think that's what they're still going to do. The problem is if they exaggerated and Darby's actually going to be back sooner, then perfect. Do the title change at Dynasty or a Double or Nothing. I do believe the report that Allin will not be back until the summer and they might have Allin beat Moxley at All In. That would be trash. It would make for a great moment on that show, but this Death Riders garbage is dying on the vine. They got to move on from it. I don't think they will. I think Moxley retains. I think Jay White cost Cope the win, honestly. I think they're going to feud Jay White with Cope. I don't think Christian cashes in yet. I think they're going to hold off on the Christian cash-in until Darby wins the belt and then Christian takes the title from him. If Christian walks away with the championship here, I would not complain. I fucking love Christian. I don't really know if it's the right call to put the belt on a 50-year-old with either Cope or Christian. I mean, Cope winning the title, honestly, I wouldn't even complain about that either. It gives him another accolade, his first world title win in like 14 years. It would also hopefully end the Death Riders garbage. So honestly, if Cope wins, I can't say I really hate that. Jon Moxley retaining with help from like Yuta, who, it was all a Swerve, brother, would be garbage. It would just be trash. I can't say that enough. So that's what I think is going to happen, though. I think Moxley will retain, and I think Jay White turns on Cope, and we get Jay White and Cope coming out of this. Jay White goes back heel. He realigns with the Bullet Club Gold, who aren't really doing shit right now. So that's what I see happening. Hate that I'm saying that, but I think Jon Moxley retains. That would be the worst way to cap off what should be a great show with a lot of banger matches that deserve the main event spot over that. I just get this sinking feeling they're going to hold off to put that belt on Darby Allin, who is the perfect choice to beat John. The issue is that if he's not back until July, I can't sit through another 4 months of this shit. No thanks. I just feel like that's where they're going. And if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'll be pleasantly surprised. I mean, a couple of other people have said, which I've said before, maybe Jay White can somehow take the contract from Christian. Maybe, but like, how does that even work? I feel like that's just too convoluted. But if Jay White walks out new champion somehow, how they get there would make no sense probably. But if Jay White wins the belt, I'm totally fine with that. If Christian wins the belt, totally fine with that. If Cope wins the belt, I'm fine with it as long as Jon Moxley is not champion. I said this earlier. I don't think Moxley should have won the belt in the fucking first place at Wrestle Dream. I thought he was the wrong choice to beat Bryan Danielson on that show. I know Bryan Danielson wanted it. It was still the wrong call. I did not need another fourth fucking title run for Jon Moxley as AEW World Champion at this point in time. The faction has been awful. The reign has not been much better. End this shit, please. I don't think they will. I think Moxley retains. And those are your AEW 2025 Revolution predictions. That's what I think is going down. No watch along, no post-show review. We'll talk about it on Wrestle Rant Radio next Thursday. Or before then on # on Tuesday. So those are the predictions. Before we wind down here, let's check out the chat, and then I'll read some of the chats, and then we will head on out after that as we surpass the 2 hour and 12-minute mark, or 11-minute mark. I said I wouldn't be here for this long, but it's hard to resist you guys. You guys are joining in, which is great. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, like I said, hate to keep hammering this down, but if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe, all that stuff. Very much appreciated. Helps the video a lot. John said Swerve could win and then get screwed over by Nana at the pay-per-view. Like, could beat Ricochet and then get screwed over? Yeah, I mean, possibly. Yeah, maybe. Fernando said Prince Nana is going to turn on Swerve and cost him the match. I wouldn't be upset with that. So then what's the match? I mean, Moxley and Ricochet? I don't see that happening. Does Cope face Ricochet? What a fucking random match that is. I wouldn't complain. I don't know. Ricochet winning would be cool. I think there's a very good chance that happens. I'm going to go back to Swerve, though. Swerve, you got to remember, too, guys. Swerve has not won on pay-per-view in like 6 to 8 months. He lost it. He wasn't at World's End. He was at World's End, but he didn't wrestle. Full Gear, he lost to Bobby Lashley. They moved away from it right after that. He lost to Bobby. All Out, he lost to Hangman in the unsanctioned match. In Wrestle Dream, he didn't wrestle. He attacked He was involved in the Hurt Business segment. He like turned down MVP or whatever it was. So they didn't wrestle on that show. All in, he lost to Bryan Danielson. So the last pay-per-view he won on was against Will Ospreay. I think he's not he doesn't need to win. I think Ricochet winning would be fine. But I think that's why they might give Swerve the win. And maybe end the feud or continue it. I don't know. John said Omega and Okada at All In should be a lock for sure. I think it is absolutely as well. John also said Mariah is going to win the title back. There are more options for Mariah as a heel. Toni would not have a bunch of good heels to face, at least in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it depends who we're talking about. Like, what other heels can Mariah face, or baby faces can Mariah face? We saw her already beat Thunder. Chris Statlander's an option. Megan Bane's a heel. Anna Jay, we already saw her in Anna Jay rather. Mercedes is a heel. Athena is a heel. I don't know. I mean, I would be fine if Mariah got the belt back, but it just depends who she feuds with next. She already beat Willow as well. He also said if Copeland wins, Christian cashes in, and Moxley retains, the crowd will be silent, and Darby dethroning him may not hit as hard as they think. Yeah, I mean, I think the crowd reaction to Darby winning would be cool, but to wait as long as that, might be waiting a little bit too long. Micah asked, are you going to All In? As of now, no. That's in Texas, which is cool. I still want to see a wrestling show in England. I still want to go to a show in London. This year's All In is not in London. If I go to All In one of these years, it will probably be there. I will very likely not be at All In this summer. Johnny said, I want to see what AEW does with Mariah after Sunday. Me too, win or lose. I'm excited to see what they do with her. She's been great for AEW in the last year and a half. On the Ball said, Stat already lost twice to Mercedes for a minor title. The division is messed up because Mercedes needs to be world champion, and they need tag titles to balance it out. They absolutely do not need women's tag titles. Absolutely fucking not. Johnny said, what if Josh Alexander attacks Moxley at the end of the show? That would not go over well, honestly. I would love to see Josh in AEW. I've said that before. I know Micah would not care. He fucking hates Josh Alexander. I know that. Josh isn't that big of a star to end the show with. I don't really think enough people would care about that, to be honest with you. What do you do then? Josh Alexander and Moxley? Like, are they really going to push Josh Alexander as like a main event star? Probably not. He could join the Death Riders. I don't see him attacking Moxley, though. I could see him being saved for Dynamite soon after and Speedball as well. Fernando said Josh Alexander is going to help Moxley win and replace Yuta on the Death Riders. That's what I'm saying. I would rather see that. Get Yuta the fuck out of there. I mean, Josh Alexander being the Death Riders doesn't save the stable, but it might make it slightly better. On the Ball said, that's why I think they should switch it up with the Switchblade Conspiracy. Does he need another group, though? Like, he already led Bullet Club and Bullet Club Gold. Jay White doesn't need another group. You did say get rid of the Death Riders. I agree with that. John said, I was at Wrestle Dream and the crowd agreed with you, Graham. As far as the Jon Moxley thing goes, yeah, I know. I know you told me at the time. That shit did not go over well. Johnny said, can't wait to hear your review of the chopped cheese. If I get one, I probably won't. I'm not keen on trying new things like that. Maybe. If I see something called chopped cheese, whatever you called it, however you described it earlier, it sounded slightly appealing. I don't think I'll get it tomorrow, but you never know. You never know. Ask me again on Tuesday when we do hashtag, and I'll answer you then, Johnny. Fernando asked, agreed, Moxley winning was a mistake. And he said, I share your content all the time. Oh, thank you, Fernando. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for saying that and doing that as well. On the Ball said, it's because Bryan was banged up in the Darby climbing the mountain thing to plant the AEW flag on the top of the world. So Mr. Reliable Mox stepped in. There's better options than Moxley, though. If you didn't want to put the belt on Darby so we can go fucking climb Mount Everest, cool. There's better options. You just keep the belt on Swerve. Have Bryan Danielson lose the belt right back to Swerve. It was right there, bro. You could have put the belt right back on Swerve. You did not. You absolutely did not need to put the belt back on Moxley. Absolutely not. On the Ball said it was going to be Darby beating... Yeah, we know, but I mean, whatever. Yeah, Micah does not like Josh. He goes, Josh Alexander is also useless in all caps. He says, He said, drinking a Coca-Cola Ice and headed to work while listening to the podcast today. Thanks, GSM. Thank you, Micah. I appreciate that. Hope you have a great day at work. Thank you so much for tuning in on your way to work. And we're going to be winding down here in a second, so I hope you enjoyed your pre-work podcast with yours truly and everyone else here in the chat. I appreciate everyone that's been sending in chats and joining us for the Saturday stream. I wasn't sure how many people would be here for a Saturday afternoon stream, but turns out there's a whole bunch of people, so thank you so much for that. I like doing this. I'll talk about that in a second as far as what the plan is for next week. On the Ball said, yeah, Alexander and Bailey are pointless signings. I mean, I think both guys are great, but, to each their own, I suppose. And then Fernando said, what was your favorite AEW pay-per-view that you saw live? I've only been to 2 AEW pay-per-views live. Double or Nothing 2019, the very first one. Great first pick. And All Out 2021. Oh, no, that's not true, actually. I went to World's End 2023 in Long Island. That wasn't that great of a show. That was one of the weaker ones they've done. If I had to rank them, easily All Out 2021, then Double or Nothing 2019, and All Out 2023. I've been to a bunch of Dynamites and Collisions, Ring of Honor pay-per-views under AEW, but like for pure AEW pay-per-views, I think those are the only 3 I've been to. All Out 2021 was easily the best one. Not even close. Honestly, not even the best AEW show I've been to live. One of the best shows I've been to, period. And I've been to a lot of shows, well over 100, 200, whatever it's been in the last 15, 16 years. I've been to a lot of shows from a lot of companies. That was probably, I don't know if top 5, but it would probably be in the top 5. That show was incredible. That was AEW's WrestleMania 17 or Money in the Bank 2011 or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Tyreek, also not a Josh Alexander fan. He said Josh Alexander is mid personified. Yeah, not a Josh Alexander fan is Tyreek. Micah said, Full Gear 2021 was my favorite AEW pay-per-view that I watched. Darby versus MJF was so good. That was an excellent show. RJ actually drove all the way from Mass to Connecticut simply to watch that show with us in a movie theater. And he agreed to do it, and he loved the show as well. I thought we had a great time watching it. It was a lot of fun. Punk and Eddie Kingston was also great. I agree, Micah. Very fun show. What was the main event on that show? Oh, Hangman and Omega, obviously. Great show. On the Ball said they should stick to rating New Japan, LOL. Who's even left? I mean, obviously there's talent in New Japan for them to pick from, but I mean, is there anyone even in New Japan I would really be a difference? They already took Jay White and Josh Alexander, Kota Ibushi, Okada. Who the fuck is left? I mean, obviously there's obviously a handful of people. Zack Sabre Jr. is not like a game changer. I think him in AEW would be cool. Shingo would be awesome in AEW. Full time, that'd be fucking cool. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be cool. John said Josh is a good worker, but as far as main event, not in a big company. Yeah, probably not. Why? Yeah, not a lot of Josh Alexander fans in the chat. Why even said Joshua is not it. Fernando said no love for poor Josh on the stream. LOL. I'm the only guy that's talking about Josh Alexander here. The only guy that's a Josh Alexander fan. Is he going to win the AEW World title? Fuck no. Is he going to win the WWE title? Fuck no. But I like Josh a lot. I think he was a bigger star in a smaller pond than AEW, or rather in TNA, but he had to move on from TNA. He's done all that he can over there. I'm excited to see him in AEW. Will he be that big of a deal? Probably not. But that is funny that no one really cares about Josh here on the stream. John said they could bring in Gabe Kidd, the same guy who went after Mariah May after Sid Scala had allegations leveled against him. I didn't even know about that, actually. That is interesting. But yeah, Gabe Kidd is very good. I saw the Omega match at Wrestle Kingdom. He's great. Yeah, Gabe Kidd in AEW would be fun. Give him some more time in New Japan, though. Become a bigger star over there. Really take over that company. If he comes over to AEW now, I feel like he would just get lost in the shuffle, probably. I know he's been doing matches. He was on Collision last week, but full-on signing him, I feel like he'd get lost in the shuffle. So give it a couple more years and then bring him on in. He does have potential, though. Tyreek said, you're too nice, Graham. I like Josh. I don't know. I'm not saying, I'm a fan of the guy. I don't know. I can be a little too generous sometimes. Johnny said, on Tuesday's show, I want to hear what your matches that you want to see for AEW Dynasty. Yeah, just ask me again in an official hashtag, setting. Just leave a comment on a hashtag from last week, or tweet me, or find me on Facebook or whatever, the Facebook page. Or just, join in the chat on Tuesday and ask me again then, and I'll answer your question as far as what matches I want to see for Dynasty in April. Mike has said he's going to get the Deonna Purrazzo treatment. I'm not going to lie to you. You might not be wrong about that. Josh Alexander might end up having as much of an impact in that company as Deonna Purrazzo has. That is not unrealistic to think that. Johnny said AEW doesn't need to sign more people. They have a big and bloated roster. Yes, obviously they don't need to sign any more people, but neither does WWE. But WWE is still going to bring in Rey Fenix among other people. Like, the thing is, if you have a role for these people and you're going to utilize them, then fucking sign them. Like, I think Speedball and Josh Alexander are big enough talents. They're not like world champions, but I think they're good enough to where they can be useful to AEW. And there's plenty of people in AEW they can get rid of as well. They also just got rid of a whole bunch of people that they weren't using. So maybe if they didn't give a fuck about, Ricky Starks and Miro and shit, whatever TV time that you would have given to them, give to people like Speedball and Josh. You guys probably won't be watching. You don't really care about Josh Alexander, apparently, but, I think it's worth a shot. Deonna is queen, Tyreek says. Deserves better. I think Deonna's great. I've been a Deonna fan since she was in Ring of Honor in 2017. Met her at that point. She was still very young. She's around my age. I think she might be like a little older than me, if not the same age. But anyway, I met her at that point, and she was very nice. And I was very happy to see her in the Mae Young Classic. I was very happy to see her go to WWE. She had a completely forgettable run there. They did absolutely nothing with Deonna at NXT. I thought she had a great run in TNA, and so far in AEW, she is done jack shit. More are set to leave AEW as well, On the Ball says. Yeah, probably. Wardlow, you can add that one to the list. Rey Fenix just left, reportedly. So, yeah, probably more are set to leave. They have just so big of a roster. There's more people you can let go, and the company is not affected by it at all. Y said, I appreciate Josh Alexander for giving me bathroom breaks, man. That's funny. I feel that same way about a lot of other people, too. Josh Alexander's not one of them. Deonna is being booked to lose too much? Yes, she is. She absolutely is. They need to give her a storyline. This vendetta thing, no one gives a fuck about. I like the idea of Deonna having her own stable, but they've only had one other person join her, that being Taya Valkyrie, and that's it. So anyway, her booking's been atrocious. But listen, guys, we're going to get out of here. I got some other stuff I got to do later on tonight, before the pay-per-view tomorrow. A lot of other stuff coming up here on the channel. Tomorrow, we're putting up an episode of hashtag GSM for GM. We're winding down GM mode in 2K24. We're going to be done with GM mode in 2K24 by, I think, the end of the month. And then I'm going to start I think, fingers crossed, I'm going to start GM mode in 2K25. So here is the deal. Here's the plan. The Saturday streams are not a permanent thing. I've said that before. Like, I'm kind of over reviewing SmackDown. I just wanted to go live today. First of all, to chat with you guys. Second of all, to give my predictions for Revolution, which we did not do on the show on Thursday because we were talking so much about the Cena heel turn and some other shit. So that's why we went live today. Saturdays, I can't promise you that we'll be live every single week. Next week, though, if I am able to get my hands on a copy of 2K25, what we might do for the first time on this channel, and I've talked about this before, I might go live on Saturday, next Saturday, maybe. Or am I busy next Saturday? I might not be able to. Fuck. So either next Saturday or the Saturday after that, what I'm hoping to do is go live for the first time playing 2K, but not 2K24, 2K25. Give the game a run through, see how it is, see how it plays, see what your guys' thoughts are, and we can just bullshit. We can bullshit in the chat. You guys can play with me or whatever. Not like literally play against me, but, we can fucking, try out the game and just bullshit on a Saturday morning. So if I do go live with a 2K25 stream, it would be next Saturday morning because I have to head out early next week. But I don't know if I'll have the game by then, and two, I don't know if I'll have time. So like I said, if I do go live next week, it's going to be probably, or if I do go live on a Saturday, it might be in 2 weeks. Just stay tuned. Like I said, stay tuned to the community tab here on the channel. Follow me on Twitter at WrestleRant. I post updates as far as when we're going live and shit. I'll schedule streams sometimes. And also, first and foremost, be sure to like this video, but subscribe as well. If you hit the bell button, you're notified every single time we put up a new video, but also every single time we go live. So if we go live randomly on a Saturday afternoon like we are right now, or a Saturday morning, or after SmackDown on a Friday night, and we got something to rant about in typical WrestleRant fashion, you'll be the first to know. So thank you so much for joining here today on a Saturday afternoon, randomly, before Revolution on Sunday. I'm hoping to watch the show live, so I'll give my thoughts about it on Thursday's Wrestle Rant Radio. Last couple chats here before we head on out. Let's see. Tyreek said, "One day, my man, I hope you're honest about Josh." I am being honest. I like Josh. I'm being honest and telling you I don't think he's a top talent as far as he's not a main event guy. But I'm being honest with you and telling you that I'm a fan of his. On the Ball said Deanna is friends with Britt Baker, who's got heat. I don't think that's why Deanna's being booked poorly, but I kind of forgot about that. Could it be a factor? Sure, who knows. Mike has said, "What wrestlers are bathroom breaks for you, GSM?" Natalia, very nice woman. I met her again over Rumble weekend. She's not even really on the show, so it doesn't matter. PFC was, and then Sonya Deville got fired or just didn't renew her deal. But, Sheena and Zoe at this point, I just can't give a fuck about. And I'm not sexist, I promise. I'm naming all women so far, but it's not just women's wrestlers. Dolph at one point was in that category. The Miz, honestly, at this point, I love The Miz. He might be in that category. I could not give two shits about The Miz at this point. Chris Jericho's in that category. The Learning Tree shit is so fucking bad. Death Riders has been better lately, but Death Riders is also might be in that category. Fernando, thank you for saying, excellent stream as always. See you on Monday. On Monday, I don't know if I'll be live on Monday. It would be Tuesday. For hashtag AskGSM, it's going to be Tuesday. So I guess I should say this. The next time we should be live, the 2K25 stuff we'll see. I feel like that'd be fun to go live playing that game. That would be next weekend or the week after. Next time we're live here on the channel will be Tuesday for hashtag AskGSM. I think episode 589. So stay tuned for that. Probably around 11 a.m., noon, 1 p.m. Eastern. Keep an eye out there. And On the Ball said, all take care with a waving emoji. I agree. All take care, guys. Have an awesome rest of your weekend. Enjoy Revolution on Sunday night. We are not going live after the pay-per-view. I cannot stress that enough. Other people do that better than I do. I also don't have the time or the patience. I have work I got to do anyway. So that's not happening. But I will give my thoughts on the show probably on Tuesday's hashtag or on Wrestle Rant Radio on Thursday or both. So until next time, Micah, one last chat here said, last night I watched Cyber Sunday 2007, Miz versus Punk versus, or for the ECW title. I think I've seen that show once. I reviewed that show here for the channel when I was doing the Wrestle Rant pay-per-view reviews. I do not remember. I mean, I remember the match. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's cool that you need to that you watched the match though. I love Miz. You said he needs to retire. He doesn't need to retire. He just needs to be off the show. Like he's on the show every week doing shit I don't give a fuck about. And Fernando said, "Sorry, I meant see you on Tuesday." No worries. Just want to remind you guys, we're gonna be live on Tuesday, not on Monday, but we will have videos in the meantime. Playing 2K24 GM mode, hashtag GSM for GM, and also on Monday, a new Wrestle Rant Ranks video. Here's some breaking news for you guys. New video on Monday, Wrestle Rant Ranks. Guess what we're going to be doing? 6 times I feel like John Cena should have turned heel. First time mentioning that, I just filmed the video yesterday. Or earlier, I don't remember. It all blends together. New Wrestle Rant Ranks on Monday. Check that video out. It's a very long video, close to 30 minutes. But I had a lot to say about other instances where I feel WWE dropped the ball by not turning John Cena heel. Lot to talk about then, lot to talk about on the next stream, which should be Tuesday here on the channel. So again, thank you to Alexis for the 4K camera. I feel like it came out well. I'm liking this setup, so hopefully at some point we can continue to make these videos look better for you guys. That's first and foremost. I appreciate all the support as always. Take care, folks. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Have an awesome rest of your weekend, and I'll catch your ass down the road.